Welcome to the GameChanger 00100 show. I am your host, GameChanger. All right, so yesterday I came across this a video with a young lady who's definitely educated. I wanted to put the words Gen Z in this title, but I am not sure what generation she was. She was either millennial or Gen Z, but very young, and she had some points that led me to conclude that she was a feminist, but it was being masked very well. And you can tell by how she was talking, the references that she used, that she's a person that's used to being informed, as this generation is. They're used to having information on her fingertips for a large proportion, if not the entirety of her life. These things existed, these tools existed for her. So a lot of feminists, and this isn't something I'm going to put on her just yet, but this is a strong possibility. A lot of feminists, for one, they're not really aware that they're feminists. And I wanted to talk about that. And some of them are aware, but they understand that there is an extraordinarily negative stigma of that, and that if they embrace that title fully, they will not be able to receive the benefits of womanhood that they would hope to receive if they were to embrace the title of feminism. In other words, they won't be able to have their cake and eat it too if they declare themselves to be feminists. Hit that like button. So you have a bunch of what we call chameleons. I don't think that that's the case here. And we have a bunch of women here. Let me just set up the lounge. We have a bunch of women who wants the best of both worlds. And they actually want better. They already have the best of both worlds. If you are a free-born woman in a Western country, you have it better than any woman or man has ever had it in the history of humanity. But yet they want more, and they realize that they want to continue to receive the benefits that past feminism, or the past waves of feminism, while receiving additional benefits from being female. Now we're going to talk about that. But before we do that, let me go ahead and do the short of the day. I seen one earlier that I think is perfect. And really, I want to talk about this short of the day because it highlights how complacent society has gotten in recent years. They see it. A lot of men see change as inevitable. So why fight it? And they don't see it as something that you really should avoid at all costs. They feel that it's futile. Resistance is futile. And we're going to talk about that right now. So go ahead and hit that like button while I get this prepared. Oh, this chick. Okay, give me a second. Actually, let me switch. Salute to you, educated Tyrone. Peace, peace. Welcome. Hope you hit that like button for me. All right. And anybody else who's listening silently, salute to you as well. Okay, read this with me. It says, Daddy makes the rules, not mommy. And then at the bottom here, it says, this little boy knows who runs the house. Yep. We're supposed to think this is funny and be okay with it. Let's have a listen.
Around here, you can have the lollipop. You can have the lollipop. I'm in charge. You gonna choke?
Yeah.
You're not gonna choke. I'm gonna watch you.
No, I don't want it.
Why you don't want it?
Because I said no.
I'm in charge of your mommy. I make the rules, not her. You don't want it?
This dad was just trying to give his little boy a lollipop.
Okay. So this little boy's mother had led him with the impression that he'll choke off of a lollipop. Now, I think that I don't think that she's deliberately lying to her son. I think that what she was doing was, if she was making it clear that if he were to eat lollipops while she's not around, there is a possibility that he can choke. So she wants to be able to be there and monitor him while he eats a lollipop. Now that message got confused, and he's obviously now scared of lollipops. For his father is offering him one, and he is saying no. So I think that it's more the fear. It's more the fear of choking that was instilled into him. That's the reason that he's denying the lollipop, not that he sees his mother being an ultimate authority and the father being a secondary authority. However, that's how it's presented here. And I wanted to talk about that presentation. See, we think it's funny when we show little boys with the following the woman syndrome, with the woman is the ultimate authority in the house and it's okay. It's not okay. It's not okay for a young boy to never see himself as an adequate leader or authority figure because he don't have a vagina. That's not okay to instill in young Black boys their entire lives. And it's because of this installation that we have people like former President Barack Obama, who says stuff like, y'all glad that I didn't, that Michelle ain't here, because he thinks that we are raised like this little boy is perceived to have been raised, to look at the Black woman as the ultimate authority figure and to basically submit to the authority of a Black woman. Make no mistake, his finger wagging was him speaking as an authoritative figure to Black men. That didn't go over very well. And then they tried to get Michelle Obama to do the same thing, and that didn't go over very well. This whole concept of, you should be what we have conditioned you to be. First, you have to understand that they knew what they were doing when they were conditioning us for generations. And now they're looking for it to bear fruit. And there is let's call it a rebellion or, an awakening, which is what a red pill metaphorically represents. They don't like that. So yeah. But this video here is really just a microcosm of that behavior. Go ahead and hit that like button for me. I got some fire today. All right. But before we get into all the like buttons, let's see. Yes, they're crafting a narrative, and they're basically, and part of the narrative is that you're okay with this situation. Listen, there's a novel. I forget who it's called. I think her name is Harriet Jacob, called Incidents in the Lives of a Slave Girl. And in it, she talks about her childhood and her upbringing, which was tragic. Tragedy triumph, those type of stories of a antebellum slave girl. Her father once told her, now her father was in a unique situation as slaves go. It was definitely a lot more privileged than most slaves. But he did make it clear to his daughter, and who was confused. In fact, she wasn't even aware that she was a slave for her adolescence, during her adolescence. Her father made it clear, and he told her in no uncertain terms, if the master calls you and I call you at the same time, you come to me and not them. He made that blatantly clear to her at a very young age. Now, once again, I don't think that was going on with that boy, but if a father who is head of household, especially with the sons, daughters, it's really not as necessary, but especially to the sons, it's important that you make certain things like that clear. Now, as a father, you don't want to confuse, the authority. You don't want to go against the mother's authority or override the mother's authority deliberately, in front of the child. But you do want to make it clear that you are the ultimate authority. If for only reason that he can see himself growing to be the ultimate authority in his future household, or choose not to have one that he is a subordinate figure in. That is a very important message that young boys, especially young Black boys, need to learn, and they're not learning due to the overabundance of single mother households. Hit that like button. That is a problem. We have to be very particular about how our boys are raised. Unfortunately, we have little control over that in modern times. Saint and sinner, Saint. Wait, what is that? How do you say that? Let me get it right. Saint Sir, I see you there, brother. All right. So, came across this young lady. She has this overly academic stance on what ended, the Black household. And actually, let me get the official title, because I don't want to do that anymore. All right. The gender war has ruined the title of her video is Gender Wars Ruined the Family. Now, it's funny, and when you really think about it, the gender war has been going on for a very long time in the Black community, well before it was even a war. What does that mean? It means that sometimes wars happen before another group of people are even fighting back. Take Rome, for example. If they seen a territory that they like, they come in, they send, emissaries, and they like, okay, we're the Roman Empire, you're this tribe of such and such, but we're not going to go to war with you. We just want a little taste. We just want, like a small tribute. You remember how, of course he was Persian, but you remember how Xerxes came with the whole, dirt and water. That's that inch. They plan on taking a mile, but that's that inch. And that's what feminism was. Feminism was the inch. The war was inevitable. It's just that they was going to take as much as they can before, men started pushing back. And now in recent times, men have pushed back. But if I had to guess, I would say that this young lady wasn't even born at the time that men started pushing back. So she came into a world where the genders were at odds. Automatically, men have already pushed back by the time that she got here. Now, there's the more aggressive pushback that you see in the manosphere, and then there is the passive pushback and that's just men voting with their feet. The interracial dating of the past, and people like James Earl Jones just flat out saying, like, they're over militant, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That was already in full swing by the time she got here. So she went into the dating world, into a world at odds, is what it is. All right. Here. But without further ado, let me just get started. All right.
Hey y'all, so I'm back with another video, and this is going to be a long one, so I just want to jump right into it. As y'all can see by the title, we're going to be talking about baby mamas and broken homes. In the past, before having children, women often got to know the man that they were with. Sometimes they would introduce him to the family, and there was a process that went before they would even get together, where the woman would vet his behavior. and his character. Some cases, he would ask her for her hand in marriage, and he would provide cows, pigs, things like that as part of traditional marriage customs. Now, some people changed that, and then the marriage customs was providing money for a wife, but that's not right. Right thing would do is to provide food or homes, anything that the family could use to sustain their life, but not actually buy a person. After all of this will happen, then they will have children. However, today, people like Nick Cannon have earned a nickname, Father Abraham, due to the staggering amount of women that he's impregnated all at once, simultaneously.
Okay, let me stop right there for a second. I like the way she talked, by the way. I like her little soft tone, and it seems like there's a slight lisp going on with it. The dowry system worked both ways depending on the culture. Some cultures, like the Roman cultures, it was the men's family who paid the dowry. So it all depends on what's prioritized. And say in Indian culture, for example, it's they like, okay, if you're going to marry my daughter, I'm going to make sure that you have the funds to properly support her. And in which case, here's a 7-Eleven franchise. That's all yours. I want you to use it to assure that my daughter has a prosperous life. That is one example. The Romans had a similar thing going on. So some people did pay you to take their daughter off their hands, and other cultures, primarily African cultures, what they would do is they would have the dowry, and what you're doing is you're paying the family for taking the daughter away because the daughter was looked at as a contributor to the household. The chores that the daughter did, she's no longer able to do, so you have to replace that value. Both of them have sound logic. One of them build greater civilizations than the other. I'm not going to say which, but I do see the logic in both. I wish you would have stated that, because I will say that the women do prefer, because they have a need, they have a sense, they have a desire to feel valued. They do prefer the dowry system that she mentioned, where goods is exchanged for the woman. I know, it seems odd for a let's just say destitute with a P woman to feel that way. But even, they just love to feel valued. That's what it is. I've dated enough Africans to know that. And we've had that discussion. I'm like, really? It's like, yes, it's my culture. I'm like, yeah, but it's not my culture. And, it's really not, it's not that type of party. Every bit. And they don't even know. They don't even know how much it is. Well, supposedly, I'm pretty sure they eventually find out, but they're not supposed to know how much it is, but they still want it to be substantial. The problem with that is it takes away from the future family. I'm giving to an already established family. It's like, wouldn't your dad want this money to go to your grandkids or to his grandkids as opposed to him? So that's my thoughts on that. Let's listen to some more. So somebody was saying in the chat room saying she looks very pretty young. Yes. She actually, if I didn't watch the whole thing, I would think that she was underage. But she's a teacher. She says she works in education, so she's not.
Is it more that you have a cream pie fetish, or do you have a fertilizing egg fetish?
Everybody says, like, I don't know how to pull out a driveway.
Many of us might wonder, why would anybody choose to partake in a relationship?
Okay, let me stop right there. Nick Cannon, I think people forget that Nick Cannon tried to do it the right way. People will always forget that Nick Cannon has tried to do it the right way. I think that he's come to conclusion that, listen, the traditional way isn't traditionaling anymore. The right way isn't really available no matter how successful you are. So I'm going to do it the wrong way as long as it gets done. And I can understand that thinking. It's like, listen, I tried to do it the Cosby way. Now I'm going to try to do it the future way. It's like, listen, but it's going to get done. Men want kids. Ideally, we want it with a competent wife in the same household. Those ideals are becoming less and less prevalent, especially for someone like Nick Cannon. So he's like, all right, so we're going to do this the other way. And it's the same thing as when women choose to do artificial insemination or surrogacy, frozen eggs. They have all this stuff that they do for when the right way doesn't work. Yes, they probably would prefer to have a Bill Cosby style husband, but when that doesn't work, they try another way. He's doing the same thing. I don't really see anything wrong with that. Hit the like button.
With a man who has 9 children.
Is this a myth or is this true? That after 10 kids, you don't pay child support? That's true. The way it works is like after 10, the court can basically say he can't afford to pay child support. Or because he is who he is, they could say, we know you can afford X amount for each household.
But as y'all can see by the title, that's exactly what we're going to be talking about. Baby mamas and broken homes. A baby mama is a slang term for a mother who is not married to her child's father. This term, associated with African Americans originally, coming from Jamaican Creole and finding its way into hip-hop music. Today, the term baby mama has become a common part of mainstream media, and it's often used as a gendered stereotype that disproportionately affects Black women. It refers to a woman who is often Black and has children outside of marriage and is perceived as a single mother struggling to raise her children. This stereotype stigmatizes Black women, blaming them for their socioeconomic challenges while ignoring the systemic issues like poverty, limited access to quality education, and the effects of mass incarceration.
Okay, once again, new generation of feminism. There in her tone, you can sense the intelligence, but you can also sense the avoidance of responsibility on who it should be placed upon. It's still more of the, yes, it's systemic. I hate the word systemic when Black people use it, but it's systemic, it's poverty, it's this. It's like, no, there is a level of personal responsibility, and you are responsible for the circumstances under which you receive sperm into your vagina. You are responsible for that. Let's not ignore that.
That contribute to the high rates of single motherhood in Black communities. Over the past few decades, societal norms around marriage and family structures have shifted, and the stigma of being a single mother, especially among the wealthy, has diminished. Celebrities like Ari Fletcher, Jada Wada, Rihanna.
Rappers with the most baby mamas, part 1. Let's get it on, bro. In first place, we got that man, NBA Youngboy. At the age of 21, he got 8 baby mamas. Like, he ahead of the game right now. Next, we got Lil Durk. He got 5 baby mamas at the age of 28. He busted too.
All publicly embrace motherhood outside of marriage, helping to normalize it in the mainstream culture. Having a child outside of wedlock may often represent a form of independence and control. Many women in entertainment have financial means to take care of the child. We understand that. So their economic freedom allows them to make decisions about motherhood without the traditional pressures or expectations of marriage.
If y'all don't know, I'm the third one, and this is his 6th child. Someone said, ooh. Right, couldn't have been me. All right, so the rich nigga put that pressure on you.
Rich Black women in this phenomenon are not the only ones engaging. Regular Black women, like mothers, sisters, cousins, aunties, friends, often fit into this narrative as well. Many Black people know someone who has had more children than they can afford. As a teacher, it's nerve-wracking to witness how often parents just will drop their kids off at school like it's childcare. With social media platforms like Instagram and TikTok,
it is childcare. So I think what she's getting at is that the wealthy is influencing the not wealthy to use poor judgment and when in the circumstances under which they receive sperm. Really, it's the other way around. You know, it is the entertainers that are becoming more relatable to their audience who is already depraved. But nevertheless, it's taken the responsibility and the accountability off who it is. It is the mothers who are choosing to be in this situation for the reasons that you poignantly put out there. And that is, you know, it's a sense of freedom. It's a sense of, you know, I can do it by myself. It's, you know, whatever's going on with them psychologically. You were able to point that out. But you are saying that they are the victim of others who are brainwashing them into that. And that is something that is false. If anything, they are setting the trend for this. You also mentioned that, you know, these women can afford to do it. Listen, this is America. All women can afford to do it. Babies are free here. They pay you to have babies. I'm going to repeat that. They pay you to have babies. One more time. They pay you to have babies. When you were 18, you was a broke college freshman. A cute one, but you was a broke college freshman. When she was 18, she was a single mother with a 2-story house that she pays $85 for a month. They paid her to have a baby. That's the country we live. So they're taking this choice, this morally depraved choice, because they're being paid to do so. It's not like they can't afford it. The food for the child is free. The education for the child is free. The shelter for the child and the mother is near free.
Young women are exposed to glamorous portrayals of motherhood, where influencers showcase mommy culture through themed gender reveals and extravagant baby showers. These portrayals make motherhood appear more trendy and desirable. Unfortunately, the emotional, financial, and social toll of single parenthood is not always part of the narrative that young women consume.
Okay. Emotional, financial, and social toll. There is no social toll because they do not hold each other to social standards, and they don't care about the opinions of people outside of their own circle. So there is no social toll. There isn't an emotional toll because, quite frankly, they don't give a damn about them kids. It's only an emotional toll if they first give a damn. And they don't. And lastly, what was it? Economic toll. The economic toll is either put onto the state or the baby daddy. So basically, you have a situation where she's playing with the kids and she just passes the bill off to, once again, either the state or the baby daddy.
This disconnect can lead to decisions that can overlook the challenges of raising children in today's economic
Hit the like button.
You want to know what the worst part about being a single mom is you get robbed of a certain motherhood experience. It just doesn't exist for you when you're a single mom. You don't get to operate in a certain way because you're carrying a different type of load. And that, I think, is the most frustrating / heartbreaking thing, because it's just like, damn, if I had a different level of support, the way that I could run, the way that I could carry it. And props for how you carry the load that you have. But it's just like you sit there and you think like, oh, how great could I have been had I had the certain level of support that I deserved during pregnancy, during raising your children, whatever that looks like. It's just like, I don't know, sometimes I have that moment of reflection where I'm like, wow, not only did you like not show up, you stole something from me.
If you decide to speak up about this abhorrent,
You stole something from me. I wonder if she's talking about the father of her kids with that one. Okay, part of the thrill of being hit the like button. Part of the thrill of being a single mother for a lot of young ladies is the attention that you get. And that attention typically comes with a sob story. So it's really, okay, so there's two types of attention that they're going for. One is how they are, how like, yeah, I'm a single mom and I am ahead of the game and blah, 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 all while not adequately taking care of the children. And another form of attention that they can receive is, oh, woe is me, I'm doing it all by myself. And, it's either way, they're being seen in a way that they could not be seen if they were merely just a single woman. So that's where a lot of the complaints come from. So I know that her thinking, the host of this particular show, I know that her thinking is that, okay, we need to hear more of these sob stories. But really what the young ladies, what the would-be single mothers are witnessing is an opportunity for more attention. Once again, attention is SEXXX to women. The way men covets SEXXX, women covet attention. So they see an opportunity for attention. They don't see her sad story. They see the ability to tell a sad story, unfortunately. But no matter what, no matter all the brainwashing that goes on, one thing is fundamentally clear about women who choose to be single mothers. At the end of the day, they know that it is not the best thing for the child or the father of the child. They only see the situation of how they can benefit from it. And even if you were to say that these celebrities are hyping it up, the only thing they had to hype up was how advantageous it would be for the mother, not the child, not the child's father, for the mother, which means that they had a selfish tendency to begin with, meaning that they're trash people who deserve trash outcomes. I hope that this young lady very soon in life realizes that.
Behavior on a part of your fellow sisters, you will be chewed up. They will come out of the woodworks to defend their situations with these common arguments. In this part of the video, I will directly rebut these claims one by one. We'll explore my theory on why so many women are having children out of wedlock and inadvertently becoming single mothers. We'll look at how cultural shifts, historical influences, and societal pressures have led to the normalization of single motherhood, and why it's crucial to examine this phenomenon with a critical lens. Common excuses are,
no, I don't want to get married. I don't want to get married because I feel like men are not faithful.
While it's true that infidelity happens in marriages, it doesn't negate the importance of a marriage as a foundational family structure. Marriage provides legal, emotional, and societal protections that can benefit both parents and children. The issue of cheating.
Okay, that last girl statement's made no sense. I don't want to get married because I feel that men cheat. I mean, which is really like, I don't want to, it's kind of like, I don't want to take on a high paying job because I fear that companies fire people or companies have layoffs. But nevertheless, it's why have kids? It does seem like to her, being a single mom is more comfortable than, or it's a better alternative than being in a relationship that possibly includes cheating.
Exist in any relationship, whether you're married or not. But marriage offers a framework for accountability. The next will be women who get married still get divorced. Yeah, divorce happens, but it's not the default outcome of marriage. Statistics show that when many marriages are successful, the stability provided by marriage often benefits both partners and their children. Divorce should be seen as an option when things go wrong, but that doesn't diminish the value of marriage in creating strong families and providing long-term security.
True.
And I would say a lot of people divorce as well because we don't have a real idea of what a family structure is supposed to look like. And I'll go more into that later. Another common argument will be marriage is just a piece of paper.
Y'all be talking about marriage is just a piece of paper, so they put you in that man obituary as a special friend. I put my daddy girlfriend in there, his loyal companion, like she was a German shepherd.
Marriage is far more than a piece of paper. There's a legal contract that provides financial.
Some women are just horrible. We have some very horrible women. Because notice she said, I put my dad's, I don't know, lover in there as if she was a German shepherd, loving companion. Like, and she's just laughing at the circumstances of misery that she created for somebody else. Who's young? Who's Young Miami? I don't know people. I don't know. I don't listen to modern music. So you talking about the girl right here? Her name is Young Miami, or the one of the skits that she did?
Emotional and social benefits that cohabitation will never give you. Marriage creates a framework of commitment that signals to society and to the couple themselves that they are building a life together. It also grants legal rights related to property, inheritance, medical decisions, and child custody that are not automatically given in cohabitation. For instance, I want to use Lauren London as an example because she was engaged to Nipsey Hussle, but not married at the time of his demise. Because they were not legally married, I'm sure that she had a hard time getting any benefits that he would have maybe had. His children, of course, they got the benefits, but because she was his fiance and not his wife, she wasn't entitled to anything. And that furthermore explains like why women should be very wary about staying engaged for long periods of time. But this isn't about that. Another common argument is marriage doesn't make a difference from cohabitation. Go to our traditional African language, marriage means something more. It means a combining of families, lineages, alliances. It means that you are not alone. It takes a village to raise a child, and everybody understands this. But in traditional African culture, that was literal. For the last excuse I hear, and this is for the brothers out there, from a lot of brothers I hear, oh, I'm not ready to get married, or I don't have enough money or power.
Big Sean is opening up about why he and
Seems like she's already married. I think I seen a ring on her finger. But now she's about to talk to the brothers. Okay. We're about to go there. Hit the like button.
Janae Aiko are not married despite being together for many years and sharing a child together. He did a podcast interview on Out of Context with Charlemagne the God, where Charlemagne straight up asked Big Sean why they aren't married and if he and Janae had done one of those secret industry weddings. Big Sean laughed and said, no, there has not been a secret industry marriage. He continues to say, it's a little personal, you know what I mean? But just like to be real with you, just like any people who have dealt with love, we've had our ups and downs, you know what I'm saying? And I think it's still finding the right navigation through it all. To me, marriage symbolizes like the best relationship. He continued to say that the idea of having to get married is almost a fear-based way of thinking, also mentioning that divorce rates are very high. But Sean says he would still get married. He continued saying, I would like to, and I don't like putting our personal business out there like that either, but there's a lot of work that needs to be done. This sparked the debate online of why some men are so comfortable having children with you, moving in with you, and even opening businesses together, but marriage is where they draw the line.
This is not a valid excuse. Our ancestors had far less wealth and influence than we do today. Yeah.
Okay. Apparently, black men are giving excuses to women on why we don't want to, even though we don't really have to give you anything. I'll do you one. And this just steps into the face of the ancestors. There wasn't any no-fault divorce for the ancestors. There wasn't a 50 to 75% divorce rate from the ancestors. They didn't marry women who have created a culture where they say, you know something, I'm not happy anymore, and then take half your crap. The ancestors didn't have these problems. So modern men have to be more selective and more vigilant if and to whom they choose to marry. Let's not go there. This is not the jump the broom days that you are displaying here. You know, when apparently a divorce would, I don't know, I guess it means you jump the broom backwards, but there's really no consequence. No, marriage, divorce comes with severe life consequences, which means that the vetting process that men have to place women through has to be equally severe. Or I should say strenuous.
Yet they still built family schools and communities even during and after slavery because unity was more valuable to them than fitting into a capitalistic system. Let's not pretend people are entirely unable to marry due to finance.
Why is that on the men? Why is that on the men? See, it wasn't men who stopped, because remember, she says, now I got to talk to you brothers. Like, listen, it wasn't the brothers who stopped the institution. It wasn't the brothers who had the divorce boom in the 80s. Let's be clear. This is not something that, that we wanted to change. We didn't want modern women to become what they are, but they are what they are. And modern men have to adapt to what they are.
financial hardship. People were still marrying it during slavery when marriage to other Black people was illegal. There's
Okay. And also she's talking about financial hardships. Like, listen, it's not the men who are avoiding it because of financial hardships. Why don't you talk to Ebony K. Williams? Like, what do I look like marrying a bus driver? Talk to her about that. Tell her about the importance of community, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and that people still married in spite of financial hardships. You think a man who's going through financial hardships is adverse to marrying a woman, a pretty woman? In fact, he's more prone to do so. A man that's going through financial hardships, is more prone to doing so, because why pay 2 rents when we can, when we could shack up and pay 1?
still marrying. So the truth is, the only thing stopping many people is their own mindset. Americans often take their privilege for granted, and the lack of awareness shows that every day.
So we've created a generation of narcissistic women. And what's happened is the rise of social media and the rise of online dating and the rise of feminism has taught women that they are not to blame for any poor choices. Every poor choice is glamorized. So if you want to be a sex worker, it's great. If you want to post in bikini pictures online, it's fine. If you want to be in this, every poor choice is glamorized, and every internal reflection is seen as gaslighting yourself. So they've even got terms for internal reflection to prevent it happening. And so what will happen is they are trained to not reflect on themselves, because we've been told we've been oppressed for so many years. Now it's time to make sure we project. And so we don't take any accountability. And as a result, when we get into relationships, if we don't feel completely soothed all the time, he must be a narcissist. He must be a manipulator.
Dang. She just killed modern women. She just gave who is that? She's probably famous before, and y'all know her, not me, but who is that queen? Because she just killed it.
So he must be gaslighting. He, rather than I. And unfortunately, we've got an online market that caters to that wounded woman, that caters to that entitled woman, and caters to that narcissistic woman. And it's so wild to me that so many women talk about narcissism, but the society today is just catering to narcissistic women.
Let me get on to these celebrities, because a lot of y'all are going to say, okay, that's all fine and dandy. So how did we get here? So we're going to get into that. These celebrities are clearly products of the socialist feminist movement.
I really do believe that modern feminism encourages male absence. It encourages it because it's become toxic. They use terms like toxic masculinity, right? And I say to myself,
press 1 in the chat room if y'all would give Candace Owen the D. Press 1 in the chat room if Candace Owen can get that penis. I know I say that I am indifferent to intelligence. No, provided that she's not married. I don't believe in giving married women a D either. But no, provided that she's not married. An unmarried Candace Owens. But yes, her intelligence is a turn on. I'm not saying I'm turned off by it, by intelligent women either, but her intelligence is a turn on. Her looks is on point, and the way that she just slays the gynocracy, like she's a samurai, like she's Samurai Jack. I gotta give it to her, and maybe that's me. Maybe I have a fetish for women who challenge the gynocracy, pick me to boot. So yeah, Candace Owens get the D.
So all of their examples of the idea of what it means to be a man now is toxic. They think, oh, this is a man. Masculinity is wrong. There's something inherently wrong with being a masculine man. And to me, I always say that it was toxic masculinity that saved me. I had a healthy fear of my grandfather. Nobody played around with my grandfather. We still don't play around with my grandfather, and it's just, there's a certain level of respect when you're in his home. There are rules. And because I had that healthy fear, I was, I guess, more responsive to that sort of authority when I had to go out in real life. I believed in structure. And yet, this version of feminism today, we have women that are basically promoting men should act like women, right? Yeah. And women should act like men. There's all of this confusion. You can pick your gender, you can do what you want. And ultimately, what I think it's doing is feeding into this idea of a breakdown of the family.
Promoting
Agreed.
points reminiscent of Ingalls and
Agreed. I mean, Candace Owens is not wrong because, you know, the original Black Lives Matters was to break down the traditional family structure. So they actually stated that in their mission statement. So it's not wrong. They are out to do that. You know, to sit back and say, oh, I don't think that they're out to do that. They just want rights or something like that. No, they want to, you know, they want to change what other people are doing who are not with what they're doing. They want to make the way that they live the new norm, so they can feel normal in a world that, but I mean, societies like that don't function. And the Black community has proven that communities like that don't function. So they're literal agents of chaos. But let's see what this cute young lady has to say. Looks like she's engaged.
Marks under the guise of advice. They're also contributing to the destruction of our family units by perpetuating the Jezebel stereotype, reinforcing the notion that Black women are hypersexual and desiring of sexual violence. The guidance that they attempt to offer is often misguided and irresponsible, because how can you give advice on marriage while lacking a commitment to it yourself?
Well, I'd rather be a baby mama than be a miserable wife. Girl, majority of women that be saying that she ain't never been a wife a day in her life. She wouldn't know a good man if a good man stood in front of her and said, I'm a good man. Second of all, if she was a miserable wife, it had everything to do with her husband and nothing to do with marriage. Lastly, miserable wives can get spousal support. Ain't no such thing as baby mama and baby daddy support.
And while it's easy to hold women to task, as a woman, I also need to hold Black men to task.
Is getting pregnant and having a child, is that not like considered like a serious thing anymore? Now, I can't call this baby mama culture because it takes two to tango, so I'm going to call this broken family culture.
You complain about high divorce rates, yet many of you only see examples of divorce through TV. You say things.
We don't only see examples of divorce through TV. We see examples of divorce through real life. We have friends, we have like colleagues, but most importantly, and this goes for the people who are 40 to 49 ish, we've seen our fathers go through it. We've seen our uncles go through it. Okay? We've had stepmothers that became ex-wives. So not only did our mother do that to the father, then he went out and did it again. You know, he just banged his head on the door again. You know, like mama, divorce. First stepmama, divorce. Second stepmama, divorce. And we've seen our uncles go through the same stuff. And it's the same thing if you're younger. If you're younger, just replace the word father with grandfather. You've seen your grandfather. Bam, bam, bam. Yes, we have seen it. And if you are a young dude now, you've still seen it with your great-grandfather. Like, we've seen it through the boomers. We've seen what happened through the boomers. It's not like we only seen it on TV. What in the world are you talking about? We've seen it happen. In actuality, stop pretending, young ladies. Stop pretending like divorce don't exist. Stop pretending like divorce don't exist and that men should just pretend like, you know, okay, we're going to ignore everything that happened from the 1980s. We're going to ignore everything that happened for the last 40 years as it pertains to marriage divorce status and statistics and rapes and what we and rates and what we have seen in real life. Stop pretending like it says in chat room, seen it. I've seen it. We've seen it. What are you talking about? Now, y'all only seen grape on TV, but y'all walk around like every third dude has graped somebody. But we've seen a lot more divorces than y'all seen grape, okay? And that is a fact. Yeah, hit the like button.
It's like women take half, while ignoring the fact that the woman beside you has supported you through difficult times and will continue to.
Okay, what she's doing now, and I hate to do this because she's so cute. She's so cute. I hate to do this, but this must be done. Now she's going to create a straw woman. A straw woman that men have only actually seen on TV. This straw woman that she's about to create, you know, they're the ones that we have only seen on TV. Or you got maybe one homie that got lucky. I think we all have one of those, you know. Shout out to Danica Marie's husband. Shout out to Bella Ring's husband. We all know that one. We all know that dude that got lucky, you know. But in general, stop trying to make that the norm. Like these chicks are, you know, I'm just a ride or die chick, and you just all of a sudden, like, stop trying to paint the narrative, because this is what you have seen on TV. Okay, this is the Angela Bassett wife on the beginning of Waiting to Exhale, where she appeared to have been the perfect mother wife, you know, and she supported you through thick and thin, you know, and everything. And one day you just say, yeah, I'm leaving you for Becky with the good hair. That's not real life. That is not real life. That is not a real wife. Okay? Stop it. Just stop it. I'm pretty sure you're going to be a good wife to your fiance, but don't make that out to be the norm. Stop pretending like Keisha don't exist, but Tyrone does. Don't do that.
To do so if you committed to her. If Black men were more willing to admit that their fear of commitment often stems from insecurities about their ability to provide, remain committed, or be faithful, it will lead.
Don't psychoanalyze, sweetie. Okay. A lot of what I'm doing to you is because of your perceived age. I will admit that there is some bias to your perceived age. If you're a teacher, that means you're over 18, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But, you know, but you're still very young. You're still a lot younger than I am. Don't psychoanalyze grown folk. You don't psychoanalyze grown folk. You ask. You ask. Don't come at us like, you know, oh no, it's your perceived inability to provide, blah, 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 blah. No, you ask. And we will tell you.
Lead to more honest conversations. Instead, many of you place the blame on women, viewing them as placeholders while you work on yourself, rather than recognizing the real issue lies within you.
Seriously, to all the women that you've encountered, ladies, I'm saying this. The reason why it's worked for you is because you have chosen and to prey on low-functioning women who don't have the emotional intelligence. No, I'm going there. Who will allow you to do that, Nick? And when I say allow, it's not a control thing. When I say allow, I'm not saying that she sits across you and says, this is what you won't do, you're crossing a boundary.
Because
Nick,
first of all,
low-functioning women will allow you to function low with them. Nick, you could not function that low.
So this is
Nick,
everyone's low functioning at some point in their life.
You cannot function low with a woman of my functioning.
Okay, that chick was annoying. It really was. I think that Nick Cannon has come to the conclusion that the overwhelming majority of women are low functioning, and therefore it's not in his best interest to get involved with any of them long term. He's come to that conclusion. Like, I mean, so basically, he's dated enough women who are more concerned with Prada than Pampers to really just try to look for one who's actually into motherhood, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. He's like, okay, this is a non-starter. So, you know, I'll give them Prada in exchange for access to their womb. That was his ultimate conclusion. But she's saying, you know, these are low functioning women. Are you functioning better? Was she functioning better? I mean, y'all probably know who she is. I don't. Like, was she functioning better? Like, is she like, what does Nick Cannon have? Like 12 kids? Like, okay. He obviously is a man that wanted a lot of kids. Are you a woman providing a husband a lot of kids right now? I truly doubt it. I truly doubt that she has, like, you know, 6 kids by the same husband or a situation like that. See, there isn't a low or a high function. There's just a women who work for the best interest of a family and women who work for the best interest of herself. She's working for the best interest of herself. Anyway, let's continue.
Also perpetuates a cycle of dysfunction within our community. Y'all are the leaders of our community, and you are the one perpetuating this behavior.
Tell Kamala Harris that we're the leaders of the community. Tell Barack Obama that we're the leaders of our community. Tell Michelle Obama that we're the leaders of our community. We're only the leaders when somebody like you want to pass out blame. I repeat, Black men are only leaders of the Black community when somebody's passing out blame for its dysfunction. Outside of that, mama run this.
So by normalizing unhealthy relationship dynamics and failing to acknowledge the importance of stable family structures, they further erode the foundations that are crucial for nurturing family.
And I'm telling you, Black men are responsible for her being masculine.
Dr. Umar is an extraordinarily fat and obnoxious figure. I wear sweater vests. I'm not anymore because he did it. He is a very, very, very obnoxious individual.
Because we have not helped to raise them children.
I am
and
not.
when I say help them raise them children, I don't mean you as the stepdad.
No, yeah,
I mean you as an active member in the community. She got masculine because she had to become masculine in order to deal with the rape, the abuse, the domestic violence, the disappointments that men had in her life, and also raising those kids and have to take care of us.
Now he's painting a straw person. And it's the same as this young lady's. It's the same straw person, like, you know, the woman is sugar and spice and everything nice. And every morning, you know, she wakes up and she gives you pancakes and she chops it into triangles, you know, and then she feeds it to you breakfast in bed. And she makes sure that the grits have just the right amount of butter on them. And she makes sure that the bacon is nice and crispy. And she does that every morning. And then one day you just smack her and say the bacon's cold. Like, that is why are they painting this scenario that doesn't even exist on TV for Black women, to where if a Black woman was to behave that way, they would condemn her. The majority of Black women would condemn her. Why are the men in every scenario that people like this create, the men are violent and the women are submissive? Why is it always this silly Mr. archetype that they try to recreate, that they never ever see in real life? Let me read some super chats. The Broke Genius says Quincy Jones has 22 children. I didn't know that, but good for him. Good for him. I know Tupac dated one of them. I know he had a bunch of mulatto kids. I didn't know it was 22. I think the world record was like 27, a woman in Africa. Is Umar's Black wife feminine? Of course not. He is a community husband. And that's where, you know, women in our community, they look for a number of different guys that they have no responsibility towards, because they don't believe that a woman should have responsibilities in their children. So he's one of those. Like, remember Cuddy from The Wire? You know, this guy just, you know, and there's nothing wrong with doing stuff like this. This guy just out of nowhere, you know, opens up a boxing gym, and he had some of the neighborhood boys come through. And, you know, and he taught them some skills. There's nothing really wrong with doing that. And then out of nowhere, all these, you know, homely community broads start coming out of nowhere. Like, you know, oh, I just wanted to fix you some peach cobbler and all the good that you're doing to the community. They see guys like that as a resource, and sometimes it pays off. Yes. And that's what Dr. Umar is. He's the Cuddy of the neighborhood. He's just doing that. Yeah. Rest in peace, Quincy Jones. You're right. I seen that this morning on my Instagram. Rest in peace, Quincy Jones. This year, 2024 is not a good year for brothers. Brothers who have had a very long and fulfilling life, this has not been a good year. You had Louis Gossett Jr., rest in peace. You had James Earl Jones, rest in peace. You had John Amos, rest in peace. And now we have Quincy Jones, rest in peace. It has not. I mean, all these dudes are well past the average predicted lifespan for Black men. Why would you LOL that? All of these dudes is well past the predicted lifespan of a Black man, well past it. So I don't think I should congratulate something like that, but it is still tragic that it's been like that. Yeah, you know. So we have like 91. You know, I think Lewis was I think he was mid-90s, and then you had I think the youngest was John Amos, and that's still like 84 or something like that. Still good, still up there. So yeah. Anyway, back to Umar. So yeah, it's these community contributors that, you know, these chicks feel are so attractive, because he's giving away portions of himself that is for nothing. My mistake. Frankie, what is it? Frankie Beverly. Yeah. So, and he's Dr. Umar is an advocate of this. And it's really to champion himself for being that community, you know, that community father or whatnot. But once again, these women don't have any obligation to these. They don't have any responsibilities to these. So he's not the leader of these women. He's not. Basically, he's a helpmate to them. And they are okay with that dynamic.
Herself all at the same time. The Black woman has been the be all in all in our community for half of a century, and now we want to turn around and say because she didn't do it perfectly enough.
What century? Half of a century? What are you talking about? Like it's really been, like the past 60 years have been utter trash, which is more than half of a century. And I don't really care what someone did from, you know, an entire century, which is 1865 to 1965. That's not affecting us now. Stop glorifying somebody who's unworthy of glorification. Stop it. You embarrass me, and you make all people with sweater vests look stupid.
Or remain feminine enough when she had to absorb our responsibilities plus her own. That's insensitive.
She didn't have to. She chose to. She didn't have to. She chose to. And she never fully absorbs our responsibility. Why do they make it seem as if these women are taking on the financial burdens alone? They're not. They're getting subsidies from the government. They're getting child support from the man. You know, they're getting all kinds of stuff. They wouldn't do it otherwise. That's why they're voting for a woman who, well, let's not go there.
And
There.
All right, Trump, you got to remove that. You got to remove that. You got to remove your last Trump for prison. You got to remove that last statement. Just so y'all know, we don't disrespect Bill Cosby here. I repeat, we don't disrespect Bill Cosby here. Okay, that's just something we don't do. This man, he deliberately, you know, he did his best in contributing, you know, to the positive image of Black men more than anybody that I've ever known. And society has chosen to take him down. Okay, a bunch of old bitter bitches can clamor together and say whatever the fuck they want to. He is a decent man until proven otherwise, and I will not disrespect him. So don't time out, don't kick out, don't ban, but you got to remove your comment, brother. You got to. All right.
There was a time when we protected each other against forces of white supremacy. We understood that our strength lay in unity, and maintaining a family structure was paramount.
They did not tell us that all of that, being my own person and I'm independent, would lead to separation, loneliness, celibacy, and lesbianism. They didn't tell us that if you give up a man, you're going to take one of these things and it's worse and it will destroy your nation. They made us think that it was some kind of glorified position to brag about the fact that I got my own job, my own credit card, my own car, so I don't need no man. I don't even know how we got that mixed up. Ain't none of that got nothing to do with having with no man. We have some serious relationship problems that nobody has been able to address us on because everybody wants to pretend that this is not going on. Over 60% of our women are single, widowed, separated, or divorced. They don't have a man.
However, the rise of individualistic ideologies prioritizes personal gain over community well-being, only deepening the
Agreed. She's spitting facts here. Here, I'm gonna slow it down a bit. Take it down to normal. This is long. That's why I put it on.
divide between us. Our struggle is co-ed. Black men also face the challenges of single fatherhood, often left to raise children alone by irresponsible partners. They endure emotional, physical, and sexual abuse as well, and experience the harsh realities of colorism, racism, and discrimination.
Here we go with the colorism. Here's the problem with thinking like hers. And, you know, once again, though she's older than she looks, she is still very young. And the problem with her thinking is that we should unite under hardship, or we should be united because of hardship. Now, the error in that is that once the hardship is over, there goes the unity. And Black women's behavior is a beacon of that. It is a gleaming beacon. It is a shining beacon of that. Like the moment the struggle ended, because once people start, you know, giving you welfare, giving you affirmative action, DEI jobs, that means your struggle is over. They may still complain, but their struggle is over, and it has been over for quite some time. The moment the struggle ended and they started getting Title IX and stuff like that, then that is when the cohesion of the community ended. So that's the problem when people are bound by struggle. That struggle has to end sometime. And once it does, then so does the bond that you had between you. But now they're trying to recreate, like, you know, like, oh, you suffered, you know, sexual abuse. It's like, yeah, well, listen, there's enough true stories. If anybody has ever read Iceberg Slim the Pimp, which I have, he was sexually abused by a Black woman. Antoine Fisher, like what's his name? Man Child in the Promised Land was as well. Like, these are, you know, like, yes, these are things that happen, but you should come together because you was abused by the segment of the population that you want them to unite with. That's very weird.
Just as we fear the threats posed by men in society, Black men fear other men as well. The attack on the family structure.
I do not fear other men. Why in the world? Wait, what? So listen, sweetie, we want substance. We want substance, not pretty words from a pretty face, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And not a shared tragedy. We're done with that. That's why I'm saying you should ask us and not psychoanalyze us, cutie. You should ask us and not psychoanalyze us. You really should. We want substance. We want more collarbones. We want more collard greens. That's, yeah. Fit, feminine, and friendly. Give us that. And stop pretending like they're already like that. I agree. And that's because, you know, instead of for asking us, they're what the politicians are doing. Instead of for, research, study, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, the complex nature of Black men, instead of for doing that, they just tell us what we are, what we want, what we desire. We're past that. We really are. We're not boomers for the most part.
Is an attack on our logic. These women are laid up with the utmost degenerate group of, excuse my language, niggas.
I just wanted to say it like this.
They be egotistical, narcissistic, deadbeats, killers, kidnappers, sex traffickers. You know they ain't making no noise when it comes to dismantling a white supremacist structure either.
And this is how she sees Black men. Like, behind all the sweet voice, cute appearance, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, this is how she sees Black men. And what's worse is she sees Black women as the exact opposite of what they are. Supportive, nurturing, caring, altruistic. She sees them as that, but, we are sex traffickers, really? We're like all this stuff. Sex trafficking has such a broad definition that it's ridiculous. And fluid definition.
They're the ones that's really keeping it intact. Make the intentional choice to procreate, not even considering their gene pool at this point, which they're now mixing in with some questionable, dumb DNA. Most of these women might have ended up with an unsatisfactory partner anyway, but
oh my gosh. Did she just say that that Black men are mixing their gene pool with questionable, dumb DNA? I gotta pause this for a while. I gotta pause this for a while. Somebody says she's reading talking points. Well, she's fresh out of school, no matter what age she is. Somebody says how old she is. I don't know. She's probably very newly out of college. So I wouldn't be surprised if she's following that format where she writes everything she's going to say prior to that. And, she has her whole thesis and everything going and she's sitting there reading it, which, yeah, it lacks wisdom, in my opinion. But her perception of women, of Black women versus Black men, is just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. It's really on some, okay, her perception of Black men is the exact same perception of Black men that white people created in the movie Birth of a Nation. Y'all do realize that, right? Sexually dangerous and unable to control his base nature. That's the perception that she's painting for Black men. She's literally creating propaganda for Black men while trying to get us to unite with those who are creating propaganda for us. That is what she's doing. And the cold part is she doesn't even realize it. Like, we should end the gender war. By the way, this is a propaganda attack. Y'all remember, those of you who are of a certain age, who were alive during the Cold War? As I was, as a very young man, I was alive during when the Berlin Wall was up. And though I didn't understand the greater world around me, American society did make it clear that they were the bad guys. And they did make it clear that to be leery of these people. That's how Cold Wars work. That's what propaganda does. It creates a very negative image of the people who the propaganda is against. And it's a very powerful tool that can be used on society. Every time, as a young man, every time I hear a Russian accent, it was met with suspicion, like, oh, he's a bad guy. Because that's what all the villains were in the 80s. Even if they weren't human, even if they were a transformer or something, even if they were like a bear on a cartoon, if you heard that accent, you knew that this was a bad person. That's what they did. They created this image of Russians that was bad. It was deliberate American propaganda. That's what she is doing to Black men, is while asking for unity. but she's using tactics that's very similar to the Cold War. No. No. I'm going to say it again. No. You're very cute, and you're not used to hearing that. But no. And I don't care how cute you are. I told 4 kids no just this Halloween for inadequate costumes. Don't come to my house trick-or-treating with some crap that your grandma made for you, thinking you're going to get candy out of me. No. You gets nothing. Baby gets nothing.
But now they find themselves with affluent men who mimic the traits of the Pookies and the Ray Rays that you grew accustomed to seeing.
You don't hug your baby daddy?
Hell no, you better not touch me, girl.
Really?
Then they come at you and they say they're happy as baby mamas. They're happy to be a single mother. We know if they are, it's because of the negativity that social media sells. And the media often elevates baby mamas who are hypersexual or conventionally attractive.
And here we go. When the woman chooses to be a baby mama, it's the media. When a man chooses it, it's because he is a dirty Negro that's infecting the world with his big penis. Like,
regardless of their partner's lack of integrity. This behavior is
regardless of their partner's lack of integrity.
Detestable. Some mothers are mimicking hypersexuality in front of their children, making it difficult to maintain appropriate boundaries between.
The mother is mimicking hypersexual behavior. No, she is participating in hypersexual behavior. It's the child that would be mimicking it. Though she wasn't the first person to ever do it, she is an adult who chooses to do it. See, there's still this sense of inaccountability that is surrounding this young lady. You know, like they said, the dark side surrounds this person. It's surrounding you. The inaccountability for the rank and file Black woman is surrounding this young lady, and the hyper accountability for a Black man who don't even fit the description is surrounding this young lady.
Between their personal lives and their role as parents, there was a time when we didn't see our parents in compromising situations. I know I didn't. If you saw your parents in a compromised situation, I feel sorry for you. Additionally,
I feel sorry for you too. I don't want to see that crap.
Men are having children out of wedlock and are failing to fulfill their role.
So men are having children out of wedlock. That's how that works. Somehow the woman is in wedlock, but the man isn't. That's how that works, huh? Y'all see what I mean? You know, and you could get a person who looks at this, because I was very objective. A person who looks at this can get caught up in the, extended vocabulary, the master for articulation and the cute demeanor and voice, and think that what she's saying is poignant, but really it's extraordinarily biased.
As leaders and as fathers. This neglect can lead to daughters being drawn to partners who reflect their father's problematic.
See, they're drawn to this. Why is every woman like a zombie that's drawn to the image of brains? Like they are completely absolved of their own personal autonomy, while men are not. Like you can't say why not. By that logic, you could say, oh well, men are drawn to open legs, and that's how they became baby daddies.
The trait ignorance surrounding these issues is not being addressed. This is only perpetuating a cycle of dysfunction. It is especially concerning that we as Black people choose to sexualize ourselves, given our history of sexual violence and
Okay. Y'all see what she did there? we as Black people choose to sexualize ourselves. And then she showed a scene from the 1978, which is before her father was probably born, Mandingo. And then she compared it to a recent Instagram post. Now, here's one of the many reasons why it's a false equivalent, right?
Only perpetuating a cycle of dysfunction. It is especially concerning that we as Black people choose to sexualize ourselves.
Okay. This is a modern woman who's doing it now to herself. This is a modern woman who's doing it now to herself for free. A modern woman doing it now to herself for free. Okay, let's see what she compares when she brings up the Black man.
Our history of sexual violence and exploitation.
This is a past man. This man is, rest in peace, Ken Norton. This is a past man doing it to himself for money. For money. And yes, he did knock out Muhammad Ali. He has been seen with his shirt off prior to the movie Mandingo. Man.
Allowing harmful narratives to resurface and impact younger generations is unacceptable. Women like Jada Chivez, by oversharing personal experiences like revealing that she let Lil Baby sleep with her on the first night,
has the people shocked is the fact you admitted to sleeping with your baby daddy on the first night. Whew. Can you tell us?
Halle Bailey, who hopped on a song with DDG to sing about riding him all night, they're doing.
Halle Bailey can get it. Right after her sister. Yeah. Ha. Just saying. All right, but let's read some super chats. Trump for prison. Appreciate you, brother. He says, I said for the longest time that the glue that held the community together was Jim Crow. There's some truth in that. It's sad, but true. It really says something about us. Let nature take its course and let the culture fade away. If that's what nature, that's what nature deems. Sometimes nature preserve things, that circumstances wouldn't. The dinosaurs still live in a different form. All right. A male response with similar logic should be made. Yeah, that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here. Thanks a lot.
Women.
It would be nice if her significant other was there, but he probably shares similar views. So it would be nice if it was like an objective male there with or objective man there with her with an opposing view that's her age. That would be nice to hear. But she has a very new channel.
A disservice. Since the rise of social media, we've seen a disturbing increase of sexual coercion in elementary and high schools, with many young women sharing that their first sexual experience were not fully consensual. The over-sexualization of both women and men has a profound effect on the youth who are growing up in this environment. The normalization of such behaviors not only distorts their understanding of healthy relationships, but also contributes to a culture where boundaries and consent are increasingly disregarded. This trend poses serious risk.
Okay. She just contradicted herself, and I have to point that out. So she's saying that the women are hypersexual and it's creating a culture where boundaries and consent don't exist, but the women are consenting. What are you talking about? See, I can't stand this, and this is why this is the new generation of feminism, because I can't stand this, this thinking that every man is a graper somehow. And if you expand the definition of grape enough, then all men will fall under that category. Like if you're on the dance floor and you touch some booty, then you are a grapist. that thinking is very, very dangerous. And it's because of that thinking that men are now hypersensitive, to the definition, which means that they are less what you are describing them as. Yeah, exactly. It's, once again, you could get lost in the, you could get lost in the cute face, sweet voice, and extended vocabulary and masterful articulation. You can get lost in these things, but at the end of the day, it's a lot of garbage. Hate to say it, sweetie, but it's a lot of garbage.
To their well-being, highlighting the urgent need for more responsible representation of relationships and sexuality in the media. My argument is that there has been a clear and ongoing destruction of the Black family unit. Many people recognize how welfare programs, particularly those involving food stamps, historically discourage the presence of Black men in the home. Yet to argue that this phenomenon is not real and is not going on is simply misguided. The sexual revolution emphasized sexual freedom and autonomy, which had its benefits for white women. It failed to consider the structural disadvantages faced by.
I think it's kind of odd. I don't know what it says about her. So y'all help me out on this one. I'm a smart dude, but I'm not smart enough to realize why she did what she did. I'm good at reading people, but that one is lost on me. Why does she look at white women as the primary beneficiary of the sexual revolution? I would assume that it would be white men or men in general. I would assume it would be anybody that likes to have sex with white women and Black women. I would assume that the primary beneficiaries would be heterosexual men. Am I wrong on this? I mean, I'm pretty sure that's why white men allowed it to happen. Like, wait a minute. NSA, DTF. So white women are the primary beneficiaries of NSA, DTF? I hope she's not painting a narrative where, NSA, DTF, for those of you who don't know, that's no strings attached, down to fuck. Where white women were just so happy with this new stream of penises that they have, and Black women just sat and say, oh yes, I want no part of this. Okay, I got to hear where this is going. Keep in mind, this is an hour long. I didn't sit here and listen to her for a whole hour. She was just like in the background while I was doing other stuff. So I not all of this is, I'm hearing it for a second time.
By Black women. The loosening of sexual norms and the decline of traditional marriage did not necessarily empower us, nor did it help us. We continue to grapple with economic and racial inequalities already. Consequently, many Black women have found themselves as single mothers without the financial or social support that they need. As you
So she just talked about welfare, but she's now pretending like it doesn't exist. Like they found themselves a single mom without financial. This is America. They have the financial support. Somebody says she's lucky she's pretty.
No, to understand the modern day effects, we have to look at history. It's crucial to understand today's issues. Many people in our community are caught in cycles of repeating generational curses due to misinformation and ignorance. So let's dive into the first part of this video.
Okay. Looking further into it and reading this statement from Pladara, I kind of see where she was going with the white women being beneficiaries of that. Okay, so we're going to flesh this out for a second. I get where this is going. Because Black women believe the myth of white womanhood, lay around, maid, kept woman, babysitter, never worked, luxury life. So I get part of what you're saying, but it does take it away from that. Like, they wouldn't benefit being a girl gone wild at that point because they would lose the things that you just listed. I can see now. Okay, so here's what I've concluded, and correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not above scrutiny, especially something that just came out with on the fly. But so white women do benefit more from sexual liberation than black women because white people have a much larger social circle. And I noticed that in college because I went to a PWI. So white women can do their girls gone wild thing and then just find a new social circle of white people. Black women, however, they can't. Because in a PWI, there's really just one, like every black person knows something. So, a girl's reputation can spread all throughout, negrosity, Little Africa, whatever you want to call the black hole that is on your university, on your PWI campus. Your reputation will go a lot faster, a lot further. So if you want to explore your promiscuous nature, then you're a lot more accountable because you come from a smaller community than white women. So I could see a promiscuous white woman benefiting more than a black woman. I don't think that that's where she was going with it. I think that, like Melissa was saying, that it is just babble. But I do see that aspect. And she could correct me. I'm going to reach out to her. I give her a link to this video. I'll reach out to her and see if she wants to actually have the adult conversation.
Which is Black women's education on reproduction. Black women in America have only recently gained access to knowledge and resources about reproduction and sex.
Then they're stupid. There's a book out there that I read as a kid called Where Did I Come From? And when I say a kid, I'm talking about, it was one of the first books that that I read, and I read a lot and a long time. It was one of my favorite books as a kid. There was a kid where I was a book, and I think I mentioned this on movie night, where it was a cat and he had apples up top his head, and he walked around and balancing the apples, and then another animal came and it had more apples on his head, and they just had this competition of who could put the most apples on top of their head. So I read that book. That was like an all-time favorite. I don't know why. I got to put myself back into kid brain mode. Why that book was so interesting to me, but it was. Then I got older and Charlotte's Web. But this was even before like reading Charlotte's Webs or reading reading Tolkien or something like that. This was way before, like fourth grade or something. This was like first and second, where they had the book Where Did I Come From? And y'all can look it up. It's a kid's book. And it pretty much told everything. The information was there. We weren't rich. I was a Oakland Negro. Like it wasn't it wasn't like secreted knowledge. You're telling me that these women don't understand pole and hole? Like, once again, why are they acting like black women is just like this secluded group of women like Carrie, whose mama didn't tell them, and one day they just start bleeding down there and they like, oh, what's going on? And all the other girls is making fun of them. Why are they making it out like black women are like that? Especially modern black women, when the internet exists, and it has existed your entire life, sweetie. What are you talking about? Oh, it's education. Stop bringing up the same excuses from 100 years ago. Why are they making it seem like these women are taking it raw, and then one day their belly becomes big and they're like, oh, what's going on? Stop it. It baffles me. Like, these women, you see these women half naked twerking. If you go on Instagram right now, you could see a woman on Instagram, not OnlyFans. You can see a woman having relations to a gas pump. You think that they're doing that because they don't understand where did I come from? That they weren't a 6-year-old kid that read where did I come from? No, they know exactly how it works. They know exactly how the machine works.
And many Black women still do not receive comprehensive sex education, which often neglects topics like consent, healthy relationships, and sexual health.
Yes, they do.
We face cultural stigmas surrounding sexuality, which can discourage open discussions about sexual health, pleasure, and education. These stigmas can create barriers to seeking help or information. This is why, for us, entering long term relationships can serve as an escape from the traditional home environment or socioeconomic hardships. These relationships may provide emotional support or a sense of stability, even if they are not healthy or beneficial in the long run. We are also perceived as more mature than our peers. This leads to adultification, where we are treated as adults before we are developmentally ready. Parents in Black culture,
They behave like adults before they are, mentally ready. That's what teen pregnancy is. We're treated like adults before we're developmentally ready. Well, that's because you have a baby being pulled out of your vagina. Like, how else do you treat an adult? You don't really treat somebody like that like a kid. You're behaving like an adult at a much younger age. Somebody says she's cute but slow.
they themselves be trying to kick you out at like 18. This cycle can pressure them into engaging.
Yes, Black families kick their kids out at 18 because they don't give a damn about their kids. That's one. And two, that's when welfare ends. Welfare ends when she turns 18, when the kid turns 18. That's not adultification. Well, it is, because they say, well, because you're an adult in the eyes of the law, you're out on your own. But really, it just comes down to, I'm not making any money. I don't get a check for you no more.
Engaging into adult relationships, including sexual relationships, before they fully understand the emotional or physical implications.
That's not the world adultifying the child. That's the child adultifying themselves.
All in order.
Listen, and don't get me wrong. Especially with boys, I don't know what it is about Black boys and men. For whatever reason, we look older. We mature faster in things like muscle definition, facial hair, and stuff like that, and deepening voice. So a lot of people in the pubescent age think that Black boys are adults. That is a thing. And then that slows down. Like, we tend to look younger later in life. So, it reverses. But yeah, every teenage Black boy is in his 20s, and every Black man in his 30s is in his 20s. It's weird. But that's just part of being something different. Like, people can generally have they have a concept of how their own people age and not other people. So, is what it is. Asian people are all over the place, particularly their women. I don't know how the fuck old they are, ever. So, is what it is, but that's not what's going on here.
To survive. As Black people, we have been systematically misinformed about the crucial topics like family, sexuality, and race. During slavery, Black women, whether enslaved or free, were generally denied formal education in the United States, including education on sex, reproduction, and family planning. Enslaved women often learned about sex through oppressive and traumatic contexts, primarily through the realities of sexual exploitation, coercion, and violence. As a result, many were left unaware of the basic aspects of their own bodies, since white slave owners perpetuated harmful myths through ignorance, as well as often conflating fertility with beauty rather than understanding its link to ovulation. This misinformation started with a lack of education for Black people and the spread of false narratives by white individuals to justify their beliefs. Rape was rampant, and enslaved Black women had no autonomy over their bodies. They were dehumanized and treated as animals, valued only for breeding and sexual pleasure. Moreover, the law provided no protection against sexual violence. For instance, in George v. State in 1859, the Supreme Court of Mississippi ruled that a Black enslaved man could not be convicted of raping an enslaved woman because under law, it was only considered a crime to commit rape to a white woman. So,
Okay. It's very weird that she would say a Black enslaved man can do that to a Black enslaved woman and not mention that a white man, free or otherwise, could also. I want to point that out. It kind of masks her intentions, or it kind of unmasks her intentions. But furthermore, and this is, well, for one, I actually didn't know that. But for two, I don't think that aspect is very important because, though the law didn't really step in situations like that, they were property of someone who had his own governance of how his plantation or situation can be ran. So you're still under the rule of someone, and he is answerable to someone for such an action. Now, it would depend on whomever is governing the plantation to determine like how they wish to proceed in that situation. It could be somebody who's like, oh, I don't care as long as the baby come out and picks, when it grows up, or it could be somebody like, hey, stay out of there, only prime bucks get in there, it's yeah. Hit the like button.
So after prefacing our education on sexual reproduction, I now want to go into the nuclear family. We have to dissect our acceptance of the nuclear family into traditional African culture. In reaction to what was going on both at home and abroad in the 1940s, the 1950s marked a swift shift to a new type of domesticity. Insider reports that the idea of the nuclear all-American family was created in the 1950s and put an emphasis on the family unit in marriage. This time period saw younger marriages, more kids, and fewer divorces. The average age for women to marry was 20. Divorce rate stabilized and the birth rate was doubled. The nuclear family, which is a family group consisting of parents and their children, one or more, typically living in one residence, is in contrast to a single parent household or a larger extended family or a family with more than two parents. It is
Okay. The nuclear family construct is not something that was invented in 1950, in the 1950s. It was something that was advertised heavily in the 1950s. It's not something that was invented in the 1950s. That's pretty much something that that people have done since. My earliest historical recollection of this would be during the Augustan era, which is the same time frame that Jesus Christ was alive. So it's not. And I think even before that, if I'm not mistaken, for non-aristocratic Romans, they did that. I'm just going to put it like this. It's not new. It's not new. Mother, father, kids in the same household is not new. I mean, now certain cultures would have like grandma, grandpa there too. And I don't think that the nuclear family structure excludes that. But it most certainly isn't a new concept. It's just been packaged and advertised to the masses as something to aspire for. That is the American dream. They're like, okay, this is going to be that. Now, just like feminists, and this is why I titled this video, Next Generation of Feminism. Just like feminism, just like the old feminists, they're going to see this as a bad thing. She's about to paint this as a bad thing. while talking about how single motherhood destroyed the Black community, she's going to say the nuclear family thing is bad too. Okay, somebody said that would be an extended family, GC. Okay. The waters get muddied at a certain point because you're talking about people who are having children at a very young age. So, like, an 18-year-old and a 19-year-old have a kid while they live with mama. Does it stop becoming a nuclear family at that point? So the extended family is more of when that's the structure. And you see this in Indian American and Indian households where, you know, it's deliberate that the grandparents live there and the children will stay there for an extended hint period of time, you know, into their 40s, and their grandchildren stay there. Like that's when it becomes like an extended household. But extended families is extended family, like their family, whether you live together or not.
It's completely unnatural to us, this nuclear family. Our desire to assimilate.
Okay, listen to what she just said. That nuclear families, mama, papa, kids, nuclear families is unnatural to Black people, is what she's saying. So we're just a bunch of depraved people then. This whole mama, papa, children thing is not natural to Black people. It's natural to everybody else in the world, but we're different.
Into American culture became the first hit to the moral compass of our community. We as Black people come from communities of extended families, which consists of nuclear families and non-nuclear families. Considered together, when extended family is involved, they also influences the children's development just as much as the parents would on their own. In an extended family, resources are usually shared among those, adding more of a community aspect to the family unit. This is not limited to the sharing of objects and money, but it includes sharing time. For example, your extended family will help you with babysitting if you need to pursue your career, and this will allow the parents to reduce their stress levels.
Oh my gosh. Without realizing it, she just gave like a genetic justification for the depraved situation that we're in. So the first 27 minutes of the video, she was making excuses like, you know, oh no, this is a matter of education. This is a matter of, you know, influence. This is a matter of outside influence. This is a socioeconomic problem. You know, this is a matter of conditioning. This is what the rich people are doing. You know, like she was saying that it's all type of external factors that is making the family structure this way. But now she just said, without knowing what she just said, that, oh no, we are genetically prone to this type of behavior. Because it's not a far stretch for a people who are genetically prone to not depend on their own internal family, but depend on everybody. Basically, it's like, she's like, listen, it's perfectly natural for children to mooch off everybody around them. You know, like, oh yes, it's not the mother and the father's responsibility to the kids. It's the community's responsibility to the kids. So if you start with family, and then an extended form of family is community. What's an extended form of community? The state, the city, the federal government. Like taking from a distant relative is the same, depending on a distant relative to raise your kids is the same as depending on Kamala Harris to raise your kids. And for you to say that we're genetically like that, it means that we're genetically prone to welfare. That is something that they will say in a WS chat room.
The standard structure of the family in the post.
And the fact that I went to school with a chick, and she was messing with the homie who didn't go to school with us. right? But I knew her, and one day she asked me for something, right? I don't know if it was some of my fries or a piece of my burrito, but it was something. And I was like, nah. She was like, well, you such and such friends, so you should be looking after his girl when he's not here, right? And then somebody came out of nowhere and was like, well, do he get to hit it when you're not here? Or when he's not here? Like, what kind of logic is that? Like, so it was completely, what he said was true. I barely knew the dude, but what he said was true and it was funny. And that's the truth. It's like, wait a minute, you can't have kids and expect the village to raise it. You just can't. That's very flawed thinking.
Post-war America consisted of a breadwinner male, his wife, who did the household chores and looked after the children. Families ate meals and went on outings together, and they lived in sociable neighborhoods. Parents paid close attention to disciplining their children, and live-in relationships were unheard of. In fact, girls stayed in their parents' home until they got married. They did not commonly attend college. Children became emotional rather than any economic asset for the first time. When we chose to trade in the kente cloth for the white dresses at our weddings, they knew it was a wrap. They got us.
I'm pausing because of the shock of the matter. And again, she's so cute. I'm pausing just at the shock of it. Oh, man. When they got us to exchange the kente cloth for the white dress, they knew it was a wrap. No, they knew it was a wrap when they got you to exchange the white dress for nothing. They knew it was a wrap when they got you to exchange the white dress for nothing. You exchanged the white dress for absolutely nothing. Oh, no, I take that back. They knew it was a wrap when you exchanged a white dress for a degree. In nothing. Oh, my head hurts. What the hell is a kente cloth? Let me look it up. Oh my God, it's not even clothes. It's like a colorful bed sheet that they wrap around themselves like a toga. It's not clothes. Like when I Googled it, I thought it was a dress. It's not clothes. I seen this. Like they wore it at the black graduations. This is not clothes. I should have known because it's called a cloth. Oh, damn it. I should have known. It's not even clothes. It's the stuff that clothes is made out of. Ah, damn it.
Nonetheless, the assimilation of Black people into the white nuclear family was the first mistake. Being that we had just endured 400 plus years of torture, we understand that enslaved Black Africans were often separated from their family and extended kin.
So after 400 years of torture and somebody gives you a white dress and a big ass cake and a ring and you're like, oh no, I want the kente cloth. Like, wasn't that the cloth you was wearing when you became a slave? Like, what the hell? Wasn't that the cloth you was wearing when you became a slave? Isn't that the cloth they drag your ass here in? Like, what the fuck?
kinship networks when they were taken from their homes and forced into slavery. There was no nuclear family for us, and if it was allowed purely for the monetary purposes of the kidnapper. From the initial involuntary migration of African Americans to the United States, break of the family structure, living conditions were assembled based on enslaved people that lived in proximity to each other and changed as enslaved persons were bought and sold. This means that we were extremely disconnected from our family, and we took on an approach of a communal family of bringing in people who were not blood related but became our family through adoption. So like how we do today, we call people cousins that's not our cousins. That comes from that mindset. The continued need for the extended non-biological family continued throughout.
I hate it when what's her name? That crazy chick. What's her name? Not Bell Hooks. Frances Cress Welsing. She did this in ISIS Papers, where the reason why we call people cousin that's not our cousin is because of slavery and blah, 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 blah. No, we just do it because it sounds cool. The reason that, they say meet me at the crib is because we see ourselves as little boys. It's like, no, you see us as little boys. You see us as little boys, and you're projecting in your books. The truth of the matter is they just do stuff because it sounds cool. That's my boy. That's my dude. It just sounds cool to whatever's contemporary for young people at the time. There isn't a deeper psychological concern, and you look foolish trying to find one.
Reconstruction and Jim Crow because of the prevalence at which nuclear families were disrupted because of premature death, primarily of fathers, grandfathers, and other male figureheads. Many notable African Americans, like Earl Little, father of Malcolm X, who died while tied to rail tracks, and Emmett Till, whose father, Louis Till, was lynched while serving in the U.S. Army, they were both raised by single mothers because of that. This helped to normalize within the culture and not blame or ostracize the woman for being a single mother.
Okay. Let's go with that logic, because now she's making another excuse for modern Black single motherhood with stuff that happened literally 100 years ago. And that is because of the rate of lynching, of fathers in the home, left behind single motherhood, and that created a culture that perpetuated them, that was passed down from generations. Even though in Malcolm X's case, it wasn't passed down because he, Sister Betty was not a single mother. Well, she later became one through other violent means, but y'all get the point. So she's trying to make that the case. But let's go with that for a second. Let's just entertain that for a second. How many white boys died in World War II? Did that start a pattern of single motherhood for white women? How many white guys died in World War I? And the biggest, and I saved the biggest for last, how many white guys died in the American Civil War? Oh. How many white dudes died at Gettysburg? I'm going to tell you, all of them. How many single mothers did they leave behind? How many single mothers on both sides were left behind? It was a all of them thing. Like, given the population at the time, it was damn near all of them. A whole generation was gone. And yes, they did suffer through a generation of not only single mothers, but there was a bachelor deficit. There was an extraordinary bachelor deficit, at that time. And you want to know what those white women did the generation after the Civil War? The girls whose father died in the Civil War. They said, where the husbands at? Fuck this shit. Where them husbands at? Where them cousins at? No, I'm joking. Unless you're from Mississippi and you know that shit's true. They said one generation, they like, fuck this single mom shit. That's something that you do as a necessity. That's not something that you choose to do unless you're a freaking idiot. And because they weren't, one generation after that, it was over. Why do you think the baby boomers happened like after World War II? Immediately after World War II. Where the men's at is what they said. Why do you think the 50s housewife is exactly after World War II? World War II ended in 1945, if I'm not mistaken. And then you had the 50s house. It took them like 5 years to just burn. It took them about 5 years to burn the Rosie the Riveter posters and say where the men's at, where that kitchen at, where that bedroom at. When you're dealing with not idiots and people who don't have a matriarchal mindset or a matriarchal agenda, that would be the results.
This breakdown of social norms had a significant impact on the acceptability of out-of-wedlock childbirth. Nowadays, while our men are not dying directly from lynching all the time, we still do have many lynchings that go on. We cannot ignore the fact that many families are left with single mothers due to death, incarceration, and poverty.
And many more are left, are single mothers because the bitches choose to be. Like the overwhelming results of it. The overwhelming results of it is due to them wanting to be single mothers. Stop pretending like these broads are widows. Stop pretending like these broads are victims of, just outlier circumstances. Most men don't die at a young age. Most men don't die young. That's of all races, especially in the first world. For those of you who are in places of extraordinary suffrage, my heart goes out to you. Shout out to Palestine. Shout out to the Ukraine. Not really talking about that. And we do not live in either of those places. So stop pretending like this is something other than what it is. And that's bitches choosing to be baby mamas because they think the shit's cute and it's free.
This often results in Black women leading the household, which can...
Okay, so Shitty said, who gave me a membership? That would be Ike. Ike OG Amin is who you want to thank for that.
Lead to significant challenges for the children, including issues with education and behavior. When both the father and mother are absent, and considering that many Americans, especially Black individuals, tend to move away from their parents, it's reasonable to assert that at least 45% of Black people at the age of under 20, they're not living with their parents. This situation leaves children without the necessary support for basic needs, including emotional guidance and supervision. Consequently, many older siblings are stepping up to assist their mothers while she works. This is highlighting the need for family unity and support structures to be restored within our community.
I want to say this to the men so y'all can better understand what's really going on with us women. We are mentally, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually exhausted in motherhood, okay?
And nutritionally. You're obviously nutritionally exhausted.
The domestic labor...
Wait, what? I don't know your value. What? Oh my gosh, here comes the foolishness. I don't know how to say your name. Is that Leslie Jones? But uglier? Holy crap, I didn't think it was possible. Either somebody threw oatmeal on Leslie Jones' face, or this is like her. This is like the. Am I tripping? If this woman is not related to Leslie Jones, I am truly tripping. I'm like my mind is just boggled. Or if this is just her, like without makeup. Holy crap, this is Leslie Jones without makeup. This is Leslie Jones without makeup. I didn't think it was possible. Leslie Jones is one ugly bitch, but it can get worse. Most men can't talk. They're not aesthetically pleasing. I don't give a shit. Listen, understand this. You know, I know y'all don't see me. For all y'all know, I'm the 4th ugliest nigga alive. That still does it. I still have the right to criticize ugly bitches. You don't have to be handsome to criticize an ugly bitch. You don't.
Falls on us, and we know that society goes by traditional roles, so a lot of the household deeds fall on the women. But for us, we constantly have to be attentive to what our children need when they're sick, when they look like they're about to become sick, their education, their emotional well-being, them learning, their coping skills. This is all of everything that we are paying attention to. On top of loving our children, we're trying to find spaces to be able to love ourselves. On top of trying to create safety for our children, we're looking for safety and security within ourselves. And sometimes because of all of the expectations and obligations and burdens and the load on us, we can't find that safety. So we turn to our partner, and sometimes in our partner, because they resent us so much for the transitions that we have faced in our motherhood, we can't find safety with them as well.
This is just showing that most issues that you would hear by Black feminists is that they don't want to be doing all the domestic work. And my argument is that you chose to do all the domestic work, and our families chose to do all the domestic work, because instead.
So here she's condemning Black feminism while creating a new and worse form of Black feminism.
Of being a communal, loving, helpful family, a lot of us can't even get along with each other, which does make it hard to have that communal living. But I would say take somebody you love, take somebody you like, and y'all build that community for yourself. Because there's no way that 2 people or 1 person, while one works, is going to be able to take care of so many people. And if you do, I commend you. But it's very hard. That's why we came from communal families. My next point I want to draw on is the idea that Black women are sexually lewd. This goes into our adultification and the Jezebel stereotype. So another reason baby mamas and baby daddies are so prevalent today is the long-standing belief that Black people are inherently sexually lewd.
This place you had sex at?
A balcony in Cabo.
You like your hair being pulled?
I do.
You like a nigga to put his thumb in your booty?
I do.
Spit?
Yeah.
In your mouth?
I've never put my thumb in a booty. I have given anal to women in the past. I've never put my thumb in it. I don't like giving anal because I don't like the way the condom smells afterwards. It ruins the whole mood. It's a nasty, messy endeavor. I will say that. But I haven't put my thumb in it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna say yes. You like girls?
Sometimes.
Last time you dealt with a girl?
Last December.
Last December. I'm gonna say yes. What's the freakiest thing you ever done?
I do whatever for like to like a guy.
Whatever, whenever.
I'm super duper freaky. Like I really do whatever.
She had a girdle on. Sometimes I don't know, but I know. I don't know, but I know that she has a girdle on.
Except like I don't even want to say it on camera for real.
Oh, you can say it. Go ahead.
No, like no.
Says, why can't women be honest about ugly men? You can be. No one is saying you can't be honest about ugly men. Where did you get that from?
Okay. The freakiest thing I did is probably like eating the gas and like suck his toes.
I'm kind of cool on that.
I knew it.
This perception predates the institution of slavery in America, as European travelers who went to Africa often misinterpreted the semi-nudity of the indigenous groups as lewdness, laying the groundwork for harmful sex.
Oh, gosh. They were fat back then. What in the world is that?
sexual stereotypes. This misrepresentation gave rise to the anti-Black sexual archetypes, such as the portrayal of Black males as brutish, potential rapists, and Black women as the Jezebel, depicted as hypersexual and insatiable. The Jezebel stereotype rationalized the sexual exploitation of Black women during slavery, allowing white men to justify their acts against them. In contrast, the brute stereotype left a lasting mark on Black men.
I think the Jezebel thing is post-slavery. And I get it. You know, Africans wore little clothes because of the heat to the continent, the subcontinent. But, and I could see Europeans not understanding such a thing, drawing the wrong conclusion. I get that part, but we're talking about behavior long after that.
Portraying them as inherently savage, animalistic, destructive, and criminal, often deserving of punishment, even death. This caricature paints Black men as hideous, terrifying predators, targeting vulnerable victims, especially white women. This stereotype contributes to the misconception.
Okay. There is a primal lust that white women have for Black men, which white men did misunderstand. Because by all logic, a woman should under no circumstance be attracted to a slave. And I agree with that. Like, there isn't a logical reason that a woman would be attracted to a slave. There isn't a benefit to that, which means that they're attracted to them, or they were attracted to them for illogical reasons, which I can only conclude is something primal going on in them, especially judging by their behavior that I've seen in my own personal life and just in general. And just even today, they do travel to Africa to get their, you know, quote unquote rocks off. Even though with women, I don't know if it's rocks off is the best analogy, but they do travel to, let's just say, dark places to have their carnal desires fulfilled. So there is something going on in a white woman's brain that attracts them to melanin. And I can see that because of the social dynamic that was going on back then, white guys not understanding that there is a lust factor that the women have for the men, and a white woman lying and projecting her own carnal desires onto the man, and white men coming to the conclusion that, you know, these guys are brutish, you know, deviants that blah, 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 blah. You fill in the blanks. So I see all that playing out as she described. Has nothing to do with today. Doesn't make what she was describing true. Or isn't true. Well, and I'm sure it's uncommon, but I'm pretty sure every time it happened, it resonated into the psyche of white men. When you look at the Mandingo situation, you're just like the women aren't really in a position to say no. That's what slavery is. You know, the men are not in a position to say no either. Like, what can you do if, you know, Miss Ann, whether you're attracted to her or not, whether Miss Ann wants a piece of that wood, what you gonna do? I mean, and you know that when that baby come out, something's gonna happen. But, you know, hey, it's either get it now or get it 9 months from now. You know, you either gonna get that whip now or you're gonna get that whip 9 months from now. It's a lose-lose endeavor. It really is. You know, once she propositions you, you already lost. You know, if you go to Massa and say, hey, you know, your wife tried to, oh, really? I want you to go outside and wait by the tree for a bit. I'm going to get this rope. I mean, it's a lose-lose endeavor. And maybe they were lustful, but we would never know because they don't have any autonomy in the matter. You know, like consent is not a benefit afforded to slaves. It's a luxury that's not afforded to slaves. So, you know, we don't know, like, if he's like, oh, I want some of that. We don't know. We know that she likely did, and that's why it happened. It's a lot going on with that. But once again, it does not really pertain to today.
perception that Black men are not sexualized as well. Too often, the narrative around young Black boys focus on their portrayal as sexually aggressive, criminally assaultive, overshadowing the reality that they can also be victims. Consequently, Black boys, they're often overlooked in discussions of sexual violence. So it's a few things I want y'all to understand. From the moment we set foot on European soil, we were immediately subjected to propaganda and programming that we were promiscuous and that Black men were violent and that they were rabid and rapists. These stereotypes were deliberately constructed to dehumanize and justify the brutal treatment of enslaved.
Keep in mind that you just perpetuated the same stereotypes. In this very video, you perpetuated the same stereotypes that you're accusing Massa of doing. Just saying.
Africans. During slavery, Black men were often forced onto Black women. They were coerced into procreation under the control of slaveholders.
This is
While
true.
some of these couples may have fallen in love, the forced unions undoubtedly created a deep trauma for both partners.
I think that may be an embellishment because royalty forced couplings too. So I think, and I don't know how traumatic that is. I mean, I do think that that's a bit dramatic. Yeah, it would suck if I was forced on Queen Latifah. You know, that would suck, but I don't think that the person forced to be with Rihanna is going to complain. Like, you know, I don't think it's, yeah.
The institution of slavery,
like, oh, the trauma,
manipulated these relationships, stripping them of agency and autonomy. Both Black men and Black women were hypersexualized by Europeans. This over-sexualization became a tool of control, reinforcing racist ideologies that persist today, warping the idea of the image of the Black man. This opened the door for years of exploitation for Black women and men by everyone who could. The Black woman's body was never hers. She had little control over much. Enslaved Black women were frequently forced into reproductive roles to maintain the growth of the slaves.
Okay, right now we're about to go into a whole segment that I call Slavery is Bad. So bear with me. Because I really don't like these long-winded diatribes of how bad slavery was. And it's not that I'm against it. I know some people can't even watch a slave movie or read a slave book, which I rather enjoy. But books written from the point of view of a slave, former slave, I do enjoy those a lot. She's going to go into this whole thing like slavery is bad. And I just hate it when people overanalyze the obvious. I really do. Yeah, or the girl is rainbow. I mean, that does suck.
As a result, enslaved women were encouraged to reproduce through various incentives. They were given land, given a new dress, they were given pig. Young Black girls were often subjugated to anticipatory socialization, where they were encouraged to engage in sexual activity in preparation for their role as breeders. This was interpreted as evidence of insatiable sexual appetites, further entrenching stereotypes. And it wasn't just Black.
Okay, and I'm gonna read these super chats, but listen. People like her, people who have Ankh's symbols somewhere on their person, and she does. The breed farm, they're under the impression that the breed farm thing was commonplace, and it wasn't. Thank goodness for that. Fortunately, the breed farm dynamic wasn't commonplace. You know, at least not in the southern states of the United States. That wasn't, you know, in slavery in the United States, it wasn't commonplace. And we were one of the few people, or one of the few nations that actually, you know, kept slavery going through birth. Like, you know, like to raise a baby to a slave. Not every country did that. They didn't do that in Brazil. You know, they just worked you till you died, and then they bought another one because they were so close in proximity to Africa that it was cheaper. It was cheaper to do it that way than waiting for a baby to turn 6 years old, you know, diminishing the mother's labors in the meantime. And then then they could just start barely picking as much of a 5-year-old can pick. That, you know, that was only lucrative in America, and that was only once, you know, it became illegal. The trade became illegal. And then there's a perception that they had breed farms, you know, and that what they did was very similar to horses. There isn't much historical evidence to show that that was commonplace, just like butt breaking. That's just something that I really feel that that's something that people, if they were in a position of power, that they would do. The truth of the matter is, and this is probably why there wasn't any breed farms going on, is because nature takes its course anyway. So it's really no need for all that. It's really no need for all that. You know, you don't have to force a penis into a vagina. You don't. You get two people working together for a long period of time and a baby is gonna pop out. You don't really have to make it happen. You know, they didn't have women who said, I'm voluntarily celibate for 10 years back then. That, you know, the social dynamic was conducive to breeding. Nature's just going to take its course. Point blank, period.
Black women, of course. I would cite a book called The Delectable Negro, which I want you all to read. And in The Delectable Negro, it shows crime.
I am going to read that. As soon as I finish this Game of Thrones, Fire and Blood, and I'm like 20% on that. But after that, I am going to read that.
Crimes done against Black men in slavery. But trigger warning, this content is very hard to hear. Enslaved boys were often ordered to remain nude, stripping them of their right to privacy and exposing them to constant vulnerability. Black men were raped just as much as Black women by both men.
That's false. That's false. That's false. And that's why I want to read that, because okay, not only is there not historical evidence of that, there wouldn't be. You know, in order for them to have historical references for something like that, historical evidence of something like that, it would mean that white men would have to admit that they are just as attracted to Black men as they are to Black women. And these are the white men of the Christian past. That doesn't make any sense. That is completely false. It really is. I don't know why they like to perpetuate that particular lie. Oh, I do know why. It just occurred to me. Because they want us to bond in a common struggle. So in doing so, they make up this lie and like, oh yes, now let us bond in trauma of white penis. Like that's what they want us to do. But, you know, even if it was true, there would be no historical reference for it because the owner would have to admit to being gay in a time when that wasn't acceptable at all.
Men and women, the stigmatism of homosexual behavior has kept many accounts of male sexual assault from being reported. In his article, The Sexual Abuse of Black Men Under American Slavery, Thomas Foster wrote that Black manhood under slavery was also violated in other ways that are less easily spoken of then and now, namely the sexual.
So how do you know about it if it was less spoken of? Curious.
Sexual exploitation of enslaved men. Foster also argues that while visual depictions of enslaved men's bodies often highlighted their athleticism, strength, and muscularity, this same imagery eroticized enslaved men's bodies in ways that fueled the physical abuses and sexual exploitation of enslaved men. This stemmed from the Mendigo stereotype, which was a stereotype of a sexually insatiable Black man with a large phallus, invented by white slave owners to advance the idea that Black people were not civilized, but rather animalistic by nature. The real men.
You know, civilized people have big dicks. You can't have both. Just saying.
Inca people are also known for their rich culture, oral history, and social structures, which are far removed from the stereotypes imposed on our name. The distortion of the term Mandingo highlights how Black people's identities and histories were often manipulated to serve racist ideologies. So Black men were groomed to be procreating machines, and Black women were groomed to just take it lying down. The behavior of nudity and hypersexualization proposed on all of it was far from natural. It was a construct rooted in a dehumanization of slavery. These practices conditioned Black people into their roles designed.
Okay, I'm gonna read Uneducated Lane. It says they want us to bond. They don't want to bond with us. They want to use it as a tool to say how dominated we are. You're way off on that one, GC. No, we're both right. So she wants to use it as a tool for bonding. However, it is commonly used in the way that you just described. In fact, most other people are using it in that way, but she's using it as a bonding tool.
To exploit their sexuality and reproduction.
Oh, let me read some of these super chats. All right, so. All right, I read that one. So the last one is white women are less likely to have out of wedlock kids and usually don't tell on themselves. It's so it's easier for white women to maintain plausible deniability. Black women tell everything. Absolutely. They want, there is a desire, there is a push to make everything that they do, whether it's being overweight, whether it's wearing a bonnet in public, whether it's having a weave, they do want to make that the social norm, as opposed to understanding that they are outside of the social norm and keeping it a secret. So absolutely. Thanks again, Trump for prison.
Aping perceptions that still show up today. We know this because despite slavery's encouraging promiscuity, many enslaved individuals sought long-term monogamous relationships. When allowed, enslaved couples would marry, and adultery was often generally frowned upon in our community. During Reconstruction, newly free individuals made a point of legitimizing their...
I mean, adultery was frowned upon amongst every community, but let's not make it, she's trying to make this image that, you know, if you commit adultery, you're not Black. Which we're humans like all others. Somebody else said that she's pretty and I don't like her weave. I think that's just a consensus of the room that, yeah.
Unions by holding mass marriage ceremonies and individual weddings, solidifying their commitment to one another. This clearly shows that even under the harshest conditions, Black women and men chose to marry, and they opted for monogamy, seeking stability and continuity in relationships despite their forces.
And this is a problem, because yes, they did choose to marry, and the opted for monogamy part, you know, don't get me wrong, I'm pretty sure, you know, that's true, or at least on paper, or what's told to the children is true. But there are instances where men cheat, and I'm not condoning it, but I am going to say that this whole response that Black women have towards it is not really level-headed, you know, because now the perception is, you know, oh, what you're doing is an abomination to nature. No, what he's doing is natural. He just lacked the discipline to not follow his nature. And do with that information what you will, but don't think that he's behaving in an unnatural way. Just make your decisions from an informed perception. You know, like he is a man with this desire that is not strong enough to suppress it, or he went through a moment in time when he wasn't strong enough to suppress this particular desire. And then perhaps you can move on better, you know, in a healthy relationship, like the Clintons, you know, like the Cosbys. Perhaps you can have like a more mature, but by saying, you know, oh, you're a Black man and, you know, how dare you do that? Don't you know that all of our ancestors were monogamous and that, you know, Africans didn't cheat? Come on now, let's not fool ourselves.
It's working against them. I want to shift this conversation into socialism. I'm just going to be blunt and say socialism is what caused the destruction of Black.
That's weird that she didn't have a conclusion for stating that whole slavery thing. Like, you just gave, you know, your perception and detailed description of, you know, the sociological aspects of slavery with no conclusion. Now you're talking about socialism. That's very weird from an academic standpoint.
Black communities.
matters how something is created. Well, you know, when I was a young entrepreneur, I had absolutely no idea how much and how influential intellectuals actually were. It's when I started to try and understand how is it that the world works? How is it that economies work? Especially, some of you don't know my story, but you know, I was born in Senegal, the west coast of Africa, and my family, like many African families, became immigrant, you know, economic migrants to Europe. This is another thing. I never understood how much ideas matter. Never. And I think so many of us out there, we're just out there living our lives. We don't understand, but ideas matter so much. Back home, we made a fatal mistake 60 some years ago of siding with the wrong side of ideas.
Holy crap, this broad is annoying. She took a long time to say ideas are good. I don't like her accent either. She took a long time to say ideas are good. Like the one that you had to go on stage and say that crap.
See, most people don't understand that when most African nations were getting their independences, we're talking late 50s, early 60s, what was happening at that time? People like you in this room know what was happening. At that time, we were at the height of, you know, socialist ideas. That's, I guess it's Dick Cornwell, who was MISA secretary. One of the first things he told me when he met me, he told me about how back in those times, you could fit all free market people in one phone booth. How far have we come? So, but it is during those times that we supposedly got our independence. But what does it mean? It meant that you were this time where, as my people were becoming free, the ideology en vogue was socialism. And at the same time, they're looking and it was fighting with the Western ideology represented by, you know, freedom, and their economic system was capitalism, right? And so at that time, these two blocks, East, West, were fighting for influence, looking south. And at that point, my people said, look, you, the West, enslaved us, later colonized us. So surely, what is it that you're pushing for? We are not going to be for that. And at that precise moment in time, we made a fatal mistake to side with the Marxist socialists of our time. And this is how, as
Okay. Bit of a headache. I don't see the necessity of what she said, to be perfectly honest. Nor do I care. But I will say that that probably wasn't the brightest thing to do. It's like, why would I take on the economic system of the colonists? Do you want to take on the economic system of the colonized? I mean, you know, you should do what's worse. I mean, you should do what works. You should do what works. Just saying.
as these African nations became free, all of these, you know, presidents of these newly liberated countries were actually socialist presidents for most of them, the rest of them communist. People.
By the way, people in colonies were free. I mean, yeah, they had like a class system going on, but, you know, for all intents and purposes, by our definition of slavery, they were free.
Don't even remember this. But this is how we got to where we are. So 60 some years later, my country got its independence April 4th, 1960. So today, 62 years later, you look around and you're like, how come you guys are still poor?
Family values are put last in our communities, and this is because of socialism. Socialism, in theory, advocates for collective ownership and management of resources to create a more equitable society, where property and productions like factories, tools, and infrastructure are shared by the community, rather than controlled by private individuals. But I argue that instead of fostering independence, socialist policies can create cycles of dependency that hinder generational progress.
Holy crap! Holy crap! Oh, God! Oh, God! Oh, God, you're lucky you're cute. What in the entire... Okay. For those of you who've been watching this whole thing, bless you. She just described socialism as a negative the same way she described the Black extended family as a positive. I'm going to repeat that. She just described socialism as a negative the same way that she described the Black extended family as a positive. This whole "it takes a village," Black people need to get back to their "it takes a village" thing, where the individuals look to the village for collective resources and blah 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 blah. And that's a good thing. Because it didn't create, because that doesn't create a culture of dependency, right? Welfare, anyone? That doesn't create a culture of dependency, right? Public schools, anyone? Like, that doesn't create a culture of dependency. But she just described socialism as creating a culture of dependency. As the same way. I can't make this up. I cannot make this up. Holy crap. Holy crap.
Potentially reinforcing socioeconomic stagnation. Additionally,
we're suffering through familial stagnation. Are you blind?
the focus on assimilation within established structures like education and employment systems, historically controlled by white institutions, can result in young Black individuals navigating spaces that don't fully reflect or support their cultural identity.
Oh, so Trump called it out first before she even went into the details of it. So you didn't need her to describe socialism specifically the exact same way she described the extended family. You caught it quickly. Yeah, it says she's on "it takes a village" stuff, but she's against socialism. Yeah, I'm flabbergasted. Like, wow. Trying to get others to help you with your kids is pretty socialist. Absolutely. Like turning somebody into your de facto play cousin and then asking them to help with your kids. That's what the fuck is that?
And community-focused values. Out of socialism emerged various ideologies, including socialist feminism, which is a particularly relevant conversation when discussing the implications of radical socialism on societal structures, including marriage. Integration of socialist feminism into our families, lives, and societies has roots in philosophical inquiries dating back to 1845, when thinkers began analyzing the implications of aligning with capitalistic or fascist systems. They warned that such alignments can lead to the fragmentation of family structures. In The Condition of the Working Class in England, Frederick Engels explored how industrial capitalist systems disrupt traditional family dynamics. He described the harsh realities of overcrowding, poverty, and the labor exploitation.
Wait, so she's against socialism and capitalism?
That resulted in a disordered sexual and family lives. Economic instability pushed many working class individuals into precarious situations, leading to early pregnancies and children born out of wedlock. By aligning with Engels, Black feminists may have misconstrued his warnings about the dangers of assimilating to capitalistic structure, because they did exactly what he warned them not to do. In a rush to embrace socialism, they ultimately undermined the family unit and rejected the traditional marriage and family structures.
I remember learning about radical.
I am completely lost. I could swear that she's speaking against socialism and capitalism and saying that they both took hand in ruining Black family structure, as opposed to, the woman who decided to not have a family. This is all over the place. What economic system would work for Black people? Let's start there. I think that because a lot of the rabbit holes that she goes down don't really have conclusions. I think that would be the best place to start. What economic principle would work for Black people? Would it be fascism? Would it be capitalism? Would it be socialism? Would it be communism? Like, which one would work? Because I think that what you're trying to do is saying that none of them is compatible with Blackness, and that's why there's this baby mama culture. And once again, that's you dodging accountability for the baby mamas themselves.
Feminist theory and the concept that all heterosexual relationships with men are inherently misogynistic and patriarchal. And at first I thought they were bugging, but what I think is even more bugging now is the idea that belief is radical. When I first read it, I read it in grad school, I thought it was a little bit extreme, like, ain't no way all heterosexual relationships. But now I'm like, no, like, Of course, obviously, misogyny is embedded in our system. We're indoctrinated by it. If women, right, we have internalized misogyny, internalized patriarchal beliefs, why the hell wouldn't men when they benefit from those things? Not just romantic relationships. I mean, romantic, sexual, platonic, familial, co-worker relationship. All of those inherently have a level of misogyny that needs to be unpacked in the same way that white people inherently have some racism that they're gonna have to unpack. But then
The socialist feminist movement.
I ain't gotta unpack shit. See, what women need to realize, and they think that it's something that's cultural. They think that it's something that's external, that's placed upon them. But the truth of the matter is, you want to suck my dick, and I want you to suck my dick. And that's nature. Your reluctance to do so is the brainwashing that you are referring to. Like, oh, it's misogyny. Oh, no, you are a patriarchal being by a natural construct. Just like damn near every other non-hyena, non-baboon, non-bonobo mammal on the planet. That is your nature. It is a lion's nature to be as it is. It is a gorilla's nature to be as. These are patriarchal creatures. This is their nature. It is a chimpanzee's nature to be this way. That's just how it is. Okay, somebody said something that pissed me off, and I'm going to respond. Hold on, let me see if there's any more super chat. Nope, so I'm going to respond to this. Fuck bonobos. Fuck bonobos. They're the worst primate species that exists. They're terrible creatures. I do not care if they go extinct. They're barely apes, and they are the shittiest of all great and non-great apes that exist. You want to know why? Because they're ill-capable of forming families. Because they're shit creatures. They're dumber than gorillas and smaller than chimpanzees. They're only great because of their size. They're crap. They're crap species. Let's point it out there. There's a bunch of shit species that exist in the world. Okay? And because you can't eat them, we're better off without them. Fuck bonobos and hyenas. That's right, Honor. Shit species, all of them. No, they're not. They're smaller than chimps. They're smaller than chimps. For those of you who wonder why I dislike bonobos, for one, they're matriarchal. And for two, they just some fucking nasty ass pronoun bitch of a mammals. They swing on trees and stab each other with a dick. Man on man. They're the pronoun of the ape world. They're shit primates. And I stand on that.
It sought to challenge the family unit, a structure white people themselves fought to preserve. So during this period, some Black women activists influenced by these ideas promoted celibacy and discouraged relationships with men. Critics of the traditional marriage argue that it's rooted in patriarchy, historically treating women as property and keeping them subdued. They highlight how unpaid labor, childcare, cooking, cleaning, emotional labor, and family planning has been often an unrecognized foundation for men's success. What's ironic, however, is that instead of criticizing the men who thought it was a good idea to separate us from our extended families and limit caregiving to just two people, or the patriarchal structure of America that benefited Europeans through the nuclear family model, we have often criticized Black men, a system that was framed as a positive for him. They told the Black man to get a family. They told the Black man to get a wife. They said, do it alone. You don't need no family.
You don't have to be told to do these things. Why is she making family out to be an oppressive thing that people have? I mean, it's that thinking. It's the thinking that family is oppressive that makes Black women not want to partake in it.
And they actually took his family away from him. While the lack of sexual education and protections against domestic violence and promotion of unhealthy relationships based on finance affects all women, Black women are disproportionately affected. I understand that us Black women have always had to navigate and combat stereotypes that dehumanize us. And these stereotypes cannot be separated from our identity as women in America. But historically, the fight for change has often been co-opted by white political figures, which has led to a struggle for Black women to carve out our own intellectual spaces. Instead of addressing issues through the lens of our unique experiences, which we have frequently found ourselves used as tools to support the agenda of others, particularly white women who sought to advance their causes while neglecting the...
You see, on one hand, she talks about how you should sacrifice for the community. Once you sacrifice for a community, you become an instrument. You become a small part of something that is greater than yourself. And in doing so, you are a tool of that. Like, there is no way around it. Like, when you become a part of a greater thing, you become a tool to that thing. That's what every soldier of a great nation realize, especially if he's a volunteer soldier. It's like, listen, I am a small part of the greater machine. I'm not a general. I'm not a president. I'm not a king. However, I do understand that this machine does not function unless I do my duty, whether it's a choice duty or not, because I am part of a greater whole. Black women sees this as a tool or another form of slavery, so they can never be a part of a greater whole, and which is a healthy and functioning community. And you echo that sentiment. You still see it as oppression. You're selling it as oppression.
Specific needs and struggles of Black women, first wave feminism. So this is about how we have been often used as tools to get white women law. I'm not going to go into it in detail, but just know that Black women didn't benefit from the Roe versus Wade law, from the voting law that was passed for women. We didn't benefit from that. We actually couldn't vote until a whole 40 years later. So all that protesting we did for us, it benefited us within the community and, within those spaces. But within white community, we were always excluded. So this is evident in the first wave of feminism. Key figures like Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton were part of the American Equal Rights Association. This was formed in 1866 alongside Frederick Douglass and other activists. Their aim was to secure voting rights for Black people. Tension rose quickly regarding the prioritization of these two roles, leading to Black women's concerns being sidelined. Susan B. Anthony herself prioritized race in her approach to suffrage, demonstrating a clear race-first mentality. She famously stated, "If you will not give the whole loaf of suffrage to the entire people, give it to the most intelligent. If intelligence, justice, and morality are to have precedence in the government, let the question of women be brought up first and that of the Negro last." So it was clear as day that she didn't want to support Black people. And while we were sitting there rubbing elbows with her, she had no intent to help us. Second wave feminism, though, emerged in the 1960s, which extended into the 1970s as a response to women reverting to traditional roles following World War II. This wave was significantly influenced by the civil rights movement and sought to address issues beyond suffrage, including workplace equality, reproductive rights, and
I thought y'all said Black women should be hypergamous like white women. I'm going to speak for myself here. Hypergamy doesn't exist in the modern West. It can exist in the modern West. Hypergamy, one of the tenets of hypergamy is that a person's status, their socioeconomic status, is static, meaning that it's immutable. It can't be changed in a way other than marriage. Not only in modern times can a person's socioeconomic status be changed, it can be changed by the woman herself. Okay, I'll give an example because I seem to have caused some confusion. A woman who is born a peasant in a certain time frame would remain a peasant unless she marries maybe like a count or a duke or a knight or a prince. That is her way of getting out of peasantry. So for that reason, she found herself more attracted to a knight, let's just say a knight, than she would be another peasant. That is what hypergamy is. Now, because a woman, determines her own socioeconomic status, hypergamy doesn't really exist in that way, nor can it. Don't confuse wanting shit for pussy as hypergamy. That's simply prostitution.
Sexual autonomy. However, it's crucial to recognize that the first wave of feminism often overlooked the needs and struggles of Black queer women. So, as Audre Lorde articulated, white women frequently failed feminism by refusing to acknowledge and examining the differences among women, which led to the distortion of their experiences. So, Polly Murray, a Black queer feminist, civil rights lawyer, and priest, and co-founder of the National Organization for Women, played a pivotal role in civil, social, and legal organizations during the rise of Black
queer people have no business supporting or being part of a feminist movement, because feminism is rooted in the interaction between men and women, heterosexual men and women, not queer people's interactions with each other. They have a clear bias and a separate agenda.
Black feminist movements in the 1960s and 70s. Murray's work was influential not only because of her legal advocacy, but due to her theoretical contributions regarding the intersection of gender, race, and sexuality. She shared her experiences of Black womanhood, asserting that her identities could not be separated. This foundational belief fueled both her legal work and her activism. Today, feminists continue to uphold Murray's ideas about intersectionality. In her seminal paper, Mapping the Margins, Intersectionality, Identity Politics, and Violence Against Women of Color, she articulates a crucial point. When feminism does not explicitly oppose racism, and when anti-racism does not incorporate opposition to the patriarchy, race and gender politics often end up being antagonistic to each other and both.
I thought that was her hair. Like, I was just glancing like between reading and stuff. I thought that like that right there was her hair, but that's like a brush up or something.
Lose. This perspective highlights the need for an integrated approach to social justice that addresses multiple forms of oppression simultaneously. As the 21st century progressed, the focus of Black women evolved. The movement shifted into being predominantly grounded in the experience of Black heterosexual women to a more radical framework.
Marriage equals slavery. Sounds like a person that's never been married or enslaved. But so what if it did? So what if it did? Truth of the matter is that you wish to embrace it. Like, outside of all the stuff that you come into this chat room and say all the time, the truth of the matter is that deep down you wish to both be a wife and a slave. You yearn for the comfort and security of both titles. Now you feel shame to admit it, so you come here and you gaslight and blah 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 blah. But deep down, and you may be able to fool a great many people, but not myself. The truth of the matter is that you wish to be both my wife and slave. And until you openly admit that about yourself, you'll never find happiness. You'll never find true happiness with a master husband.
Work that emphasizes the importance of queer and trans Black individuals.
On top of men's behavior around me and to me, on top of that, and me getting smarter, I lost all attraction to men. Damn. Because my attraction was here. It was never physical.
Right.
It was never physical.
Yeah. It was
so
mental.
It's so easy for me to go to women because it's still not physical.
This evolution reflects a broader understanding of identity and the necessity of inclusivity within feminist discourse, ensuring that all voices are heard and that the fight against intersecting oppressions continue to be at the forefront of activism. My thoughts are, we often hear so-called educated voices repeating the same tired talking points about feminism, as if heterosexual relationships are inherently misogynistic. When people critique feminism or womanism, they're often met with a question of, what will we do?
It always becomes about feminism and why feminism is not working for Black women. Here's another question we need to consider. Okay, if feminism is not working for Black women, what framework of liberation for women, specifically, what framework of liberation for Black women has worked out for Black women?
Sucking my penis. That works out. Being placed in a submissive state works for all women. That's why you're confused. Because you're wondering which form of women's liberation is the best. None of them. There you have it.
Because if I brought up womanism, you probably have an issue with that too.
This lack of critical thought is actually mind-blowing. Many who claim to be informed don't actually read for context. They read to look good. And it's the same rigid black and white thinking as the idea of the only parties that exist is Democrat and Republican. Many have adopted the very perspectives of the colonizers and forgotten their ancestral way. By aligning ourselves with reckless organizations, we became entangled.
Why would I remember my ancestral race? They fucking lost. They fucking lost to a patriarchy. You want to know why they lost? Because of ancestral ways. Ancestral ways is why you bring a spear to a fucking machine gun fight. Our people have been fighting with spears for 1,000 years. And you're gone. Like, perhaps you should have adapted to the times. Just saying. But let's see the ancestral ways that she wants us to adapt to.
Angle in white politics, abandoning our own values. Black women fought for reproductive rights and OBGYN care, yet were mainly exploited by these advancements in the medical field, not truly benefiting from them. Time and time again, we've aligned ourselves with these groups that consistently prove they just don't care about the Black community. Just throwing around terms like intersectionality or creating Black name groups under white leadership doesn't change the fact that these groups were often intended to control Black populations. They were made to gentrify and kill us, like literally control the reproductive rights on Black people. Instead, the smart move would be to learn what our people did before colonialism, to understand how they honored unions, partnership, and women's reproductive rights. In many traditional African cultures, gender roles were balanced and women held...
Here comes the made-up African history. Here comes the made-up African history. It was kings and shit. Here we go. Okay.
Powerful roles in political, spiritual, and economic spheres. Feminist principles were indeed present, but they looked very different from the European model, which was born out of resistance to restrictive patriarchal structures. African societies emphasized collective leadership, seeing both men and women as essential to the community's prosperity. For instance, in pre-colonial West Africa, the Yoruba people had a dual-sex governance system where...
Okay, let's look that up. It's always some obscure tribe, too. Dual sex. Okay, I'm looking here. It says for whatever reason, when I type in the Yoruba people in dual sex governance, the results of the question, how many wives can a Yoruba man have? That doesn't really seem like it was a dual sex thing, because it seems like something else is going on, but let's hear it out. However, many men marry as many wives as their financial capacity allows. Some marry 2, 3, 6, 8, or even more. Yeah, that doesn't really seem like this whole egalitarian system that you described. Okay, Yoruba people pre-colonial society was a gender-neutral, gender-fluid, and gender-silent society. Women played complementary, not competitive roles to men. So, yeah. It sounds like a helpmate to me. Furthermore, this complementary role cannot be deleted or replaced by males. Yeah, that's what a helpmate is. Like, we couldn't take your role of breastfeeding away. Made up African history.
Men and women held political institutions. Women held authority and played key roles as traders, spiritual leaders, and warriors. Leaders like Queen Amina of Zazzau, modern-day Nigeria, and Ya Asante.
All right, let me look this bitch up. Was a Hazu historical figure in the city-state of Zazu, now city of Zaire, and I thought this was Nigeria. Okay, and Kundan State, in what is now known as the northwestern region of Nigeria. Got you. Okay, she ruled in the mid 16th century. Okay, let's read more about this bitch. All right. Still can't be sold. We're sorry to ask you a few times recently, but it's money. You see, okay, donate to Wikipedia, but understand, don't give them your right email address, because they'll bug you for the rest of your life. They like, once they see like, oh, this dude donates, they bug you for the rest of their life. All right. Born in the middle of the 16th century, she had a younger sister named blah 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 blah. She had a younger sister who was renamed from birth, according to oral legends collected by anthropologist David E. Jones. Amina was brought up by her grandfather's court and was favored by him. He carried her around court and blah 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 blah. At age 16, she was named heir apparent. Okay, so basically, and this happens in all patriarchal structures. Every now and again, you have a nigga that just can't that just can't have boys for whatever reason, like Henry VIII. That's where Queen Elizabeth come from. Every now and again, you just have somebody that can't have boys, and then so they let their daughters rule, and then from that daughterly rule, people just say, "Oh yes, this was a matriarchy." No, that's not how it works. Okay, let's see. Amina had a number of suitors attempting to marry her. Attempts to gain her hand included daily offerings of 10 slaves. Okay, so she was an enslaver. The white man's bad, but this bitch is good. Okay, I got you. All right, let's see. Attempts to gain hand including daily offering of 10 slaves from Mamak, and 50 male slaves and 50 female slaves, as well as 50 bags of white and blue cloth. Ooh, cloth. All right, let's see. After death, her parents in around 1566. I mean, the brother. How's this before colonialism? Well, it's before colonialism, but it's not before European influence. All right, I mean, it became. So, okay, right here. After the death of her parents in around 1566, apparently, her brother became king because of penis and because it was a patriarchy. in spite of what these bitches will allow. At this point, Amina disguised herself as the leading warrior in her brother's cavalry and gained notoriety for her military skills. She is celebrated as today's traditional, let's see. All right. Amina's daughter, woman as capable as a man and was able to lead men to war. Okay. All right. So every culture has its Joan of Arc, Barisha. Every culture has like some random warrior bitch with high testosterone. They do. And for whatever reason, you know, Black women in America today like to champion these bitches as norms, because deep down they want to be these fucking muscle bound zebra riding bitches. And that's okay, but don't expect us to treat you like a natural woman when you behave like this and when you seek this. You weigh 95 pounds soaking wet, and you are following the lead of some warrior bitch.
Of the Ashanti Empire in Ghana were legendary figures who commanded respect and wielded power. Queen Nzinga of Thamba even had a polygamous relationship where men vied for her attention, some fighting to the death. Additionally,
yeah, that's what you want. I didn't see like there were guys fighting to the death. Okay, the exact circumstances of her death is unknown. 19th century Muslim scholars said she died in place of. So y'all know on Game of Thrones that you know, Brienne of Tarth type chick. Women like that existed. I mean, you know, she became captain of the guard. Women like that existed, but stop making it seem like it was a norm and not an outlier. Like, I mean, you know, being like, ooh, she's just as capable as a man. That's nothing. That's nothing. Like, you graduate, you evolved into man.
matrilineal systems common in some African societies, such as Amani Akan people of Ghana, ensured that the lineage inheritance followed the mother's line, reinforcing the matriarch's importance.
Okay. I don't know why she's you know, bringing up all these failed shitholes and saying that they did something right. I really don't.
Reinforcing an organic sense of equality. By moving away from this communal model and towards smaller, isolated family units, we've opened the door for patriarchy to take hold, creating hierarchies and reducing balance of roles that were once integral to family life. This huge oversight has inadvertently prioritized.
So while admitting that the problem in the Black community is the broken family, she refused to embrace patriarchy. Listen, little girl, until you embrace patriarchy and the dick that comes with it, everything you do will fail. Don't believe me? Keep doing what you're doing. Whatever the fuck it is you're doing with this new wave of feminism, keep doing it. The solution to all that ails you is patriarchy.
Prioritize individuality over the collective goals of reproductive justice and has emphasized a notion of sameness that overlooks the distinct needs of women. In the quest for equality with men, some feminists have downplayed the necessity for accommodations that consider biological differences, such as maternity leave, childcare, and menstrual leave. In many cases, corporate and political resistance to policies that support women, like paid maternity leave or accessible childcare.
Now, this is what I'm talking about. This is the new feminine wave of bullshit. This is the new feminist wave of bullshit. After spending the past 60 years or so talking about we're just like men, we're just like men, we're just like men. Oh, can I have an extra day off work because of my period? Yeah, I know that we're just like men, but now let me have extra shit that you don't have to give to men who we claimed for 60 fucking years that we were the same as. Now I want you to honor our differences and pay for our differences, you nasty bitch. You are disgusting to even suggest such lunacy. I want you to pay me the same while I do less work. I want you to give me days off each month because I'm a woman. This is the vagina tax while paying me the same as somebody who works all the days of the month. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? This is what's out there. This is the new wave of feminists. Like, okay, we already have equal rights. Now let's go for superior rights. She said this. She read this with a straight face. This is what the new generation is into? Because I'm telling you, this is worse. And she don't even see it as feminism. She don't. They just did it in two parts. Like, okay, I want to be paid like a man, but treated like a woman. Wait, what? Yes, I want the same pay as a man, but when dishing out the work, I want you to treat me as a woman. I want to be paid as a man, but when dishing out the work, I want to be treated as a woman. Disgusting. Disgusting.
Has been framed as a backlash against perceived special treatment. If the country truly cared about women, it would follow the same example of Zambia, which passed a law in 2015 allowing women to take a day off each month for menstrual leave, colloquially known as...
Okay, let's look up Zambia. Who the fuck named these African countries? Zambia's Mother's Day policy allowed female workers to take 1 day off per month for their menstrual cycle. This policy applies to all women regardless of if they have children. So do it apply to old bitches too that don't have a menstrual cycle? Women can take that day at any point in the month and don't need to provide a medical examination to their employer. Of course not. Employees who do not comply with the policy are liable for prosecution. Okay, just for shits and giggles, right? What is the per capita GDP of Zambia? Oh, $1,369. Wow. So basically, what they're producing with policies like this in a year is worth less than a burger flipper's 2-week paycheck. The average Zambian citizen is producing less than an Uber driver. In a 2-week period. I forgot that part. In a 2-week period. Like that's their whole year. That's how much they got done a whole year. Is they got done $1,300 worth of stuff. Gee, okay.
This Mother's Day. Despite the advancements made by feminist and socialist movements, allowed many women to partake in the workplace continues to be structured around male norms. Linear career progression, continuous work.
The workplace is structured around work. You want to be held to a male standard, and then you ask for a period day off. The new wave, the new generation of feminism. Now that we got all the benefits of masculinity, we want the benefits of femininity too. Exactly. After condemning socialism, she brings up Zambia as a model of how we should be. I don't give a shit. Listen, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about that nasty shit. I don't want to think about a vagina that I'm not fucking. All right? What in the hell? I don't care. You're damn right, and I don't care about it.
Without breaks for childbearing and a lack of attention to biological differences. Neoliberal feminism promotes individual empowerment within a capitalistic framework, encouraging women to lean in and succeed within male-dominated structures, fundamentally challenging the system itself. This approach does not represent true feminism. Rather,
that's not a problem that I don't care. I shouldn't have to care. It's your fucking responsibility. The only time I look at the motherfuckers when I'm checking for herpes, like, listen, it's your job to keep the shit clean and tight for me. That's it. Why do you need my expertise in that? It's not my business. Why? Why should I care? Why in the fuck should I care? And moist for me. God damn it.
Rather, it highlights why the Black family remains a target in the societal landscape. The ongoing struggle for equality and justice prioritize the unique challenges faced by Black women, ensuring that the fight for rights does not come at the expense of our foundational values. By prioritizing individual empowerment within a capitalistic framework, marriage has taken a back seat, with money now becoming a primary focus. For white women, owning their hypersexuality might have been seen as empowering, but Black women were already disproportionately impacted by propaganda and stereotypes that painted us as hypersexual and fast. Black women should not have adopted the same approach as white activists. Our struggles were different. Today's celebrities glamorize the idea of being a single mother or dismiss marriage as just a piece of paper. There's a growing belief that a nanny or a caregiver can replace the presence of two parents in the home. This isn't just about Black men being removed from our families. It's a deliberate unlearning of the traditional roles for women and men in a family unit. Instead of fostering a collective household where more people share responsibilities, helping balance work, family life, society increasingly values material possessions, cars, glamour, wealth over the institution of marriage. And as a result, the importance of marriage is often overlooked, leaving us disconnected from its foundational role in building strong family structures. So now that I've discussed feminism and its effects on mothers and parenting today, I want to emphasize the importance of being vigilant.
Yeah, well, you should have realized that before you asked for equality. You know about your flow and shit. When you ask for equality, stop pretending to be a man and bitching about your flow. Stop it. Ask God. Ask God. And yes, you should be penalized for your biological function. Men are penalized for their biological functions. God damn it. That's why you charge niggas to fuck you. That's a penalty. That's a tax for having a dick that need to be fucked.
About language. You'll often hear baby mamas defending their situations by quoting white socialists. It's crucial to recognize this and remind them that marriage was never solely a creation of the white man. Rather, the nuclear family structure was. Our ancestors were long married.
Says I'm not a prostitute. It's not about prostitution. I'm hypergamous. So that's what you say, right? I'm hypergamous. What does that mean? It means that, he got to spend $1 on us, or he gets no punana from us. That's us being taxed for our biological function. Deal with it.
before
Bleed on
slavery
that.
and will likely still be doing so had we not been influenced by misguided ideas. I urge everyone to critically examine our behaviors instead of running from the healing process. Confronting these realities is essential with growth. And I would love to hear y'all thoughts about this video. It's been a long.
Oh, you don't hear his thoughts. Okay. What is this? All right, that's debatable. I'm not even going to get into that. All right, let me get out of this. She's so cute. That's a damn shame. What a waste of cute. They could have gave that to a pick-me. All right. Girly, you are so pretty and intelligent. Not all pretty people are intelligent. Earned yourself a subby. Wow, you are. Why are they complimenting her looks? Okay, we get it. You seem to understand that being a wife, isn't what children in society needs. What the entire fuck? And she liked this. Wow, you are beautiful. And you seem to understand that being a wife isn't what children in society needs. Yes, it is. If the problem is single motherhood, then the solution is being a wife. You watched the whole video and that was your conclusion. You're a fucking idiot. You are an idiot, S. You are an idiot. You are a Jamaican idiot. You are stupid. Stupid starts with S. You're stupid. Keep working hard. Very insightful. Stay tuned for the next one. Or staying tuned for the next one. Okay. Smart young lady. Oh, gosh. You started spitting facts at 18 minutes in, but when you hit me with the history of slaves, and there was no function. In the communal families, I had to check myself on my views on how we got where we are at. Okay. Black people were better off when we followed the nuclear family structure. But somebody told you that it was oppressive. You believed them, and here we are. Perpetuating stupid. Please undo the mass male estrangement syndrome in the hood. Yeah, it's the males that's doing it. Okay. / rule and make all boy classes so we can not only fix but recruit Black male teachers, less than 1%. Second, finally incentivize grandparents. Second, financially incentivize grandparents on the father's side to do what? Incentivize them to do what? Yes. Okay. I think I responded to this one. With government assistance, child support, and alimony, we're financially incentivized to have broken homes. Take away the free money and watch things get better. Yes, I did respond to this, but let's read her response. She wrote a whole damn paper because that's what she does. She writes papers. I'm just going to read the first paragraph. I understand your perspective. It's complex and layered issue that isn't easily resolved. While I agree there's a problem, we have been sold a narrative that welfare serves our needs, even though these systems were literally designed to support white families. This, Jesus, so is the Constitution anyway. This has created a significant challenge and convincing many people to seek alternatives to government assistance or question the effectiveness of these programs, especially when some still rely on them and look to government as a savior during elections. Okay. My response to that is, she said that's what I just said. Okay. Let's read for context, guys, and bring data on a complex topic isn't overthinking. It's just, okay, so she did respond to me. It's just journalistic integrity. This is not necessarily data. It's really not. All right, I'll read y'all my reply. Where in the hell's my chess piece? My handsome chess piece face. Here we go. It says, I agree. What's her name? Naisha. I agree at Naisha too, but it's not as complex as you think. We have a system that pays women to become single mothers, and the poorest amongst us takes advantage of that system. Though it helps to understand the history of something that is far too often leads to overthinking, and it really does. The sad truth is, as long as we can afford welfare, it will never truly end. It creates jobs and feeds children. Good luck finding a politician that will fix that. Now, her response to that is, let's read for context, guys, and bringing data to complexities. Okay. All right. Listen. If a person is using, or a group of people is using an existing policy to destroy the family structure, and you want to repair the family structure, then you get rid of their ability to use that policy. It's that simple. It's kind of like every night I leave a loaf of bread in the attic, and I'm getting rats. Welfare policy, Trump. Every night I put a loaf of bread in the attic, and I'm getting rats in my attic. Well, why don't you stop putting a loaf of bread in the attic? Oh, well, we have to talk about the history of bread and rats before we actually get rid of, before we stop putting bread in the attic. Don't get me wrong, I'm not an underthinker. But sometimes when you overthink, it means that you are seeking a conclusion that's favorable to what you already believe. And that's what you're essentially doing. All right. Somebody said homeless black men receive housing assistance. Well, if they do, then they're not really homeless now, are they? Okay, so let me let her know that I responded. And let's see if she responds back. Hold on, I gotta go to my own show. And while I do that, y'all can hit that like button. I do greatly appreciate it. All right. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button. I greatly appreciate that as well. Ah, dang. All right. Content, shorts. Here we go. Live. It's all the way live. All right. I should just ask y'all to do it. Y'all are, of course, already here, but I made it here. So here we go. That's the echo. That's the echo. Okay. All right. So let me respond. Actually, let me just see if she has a regular thing. All right. So let's get out of there. Now that that's done. Oh, actually, while I have it up, let's see. Yeah, y'all been hitting that like button. Could use 5 more, but y'all been hitting that like button. All right, great. So let's go to the lounge before we get out of here. I'll put everybody there. Read some comments and call it a day. Nope, not that one. Not too many screens up. All right, here we go. So basically, she says the gender war ruined Black families while continuing to fight for the feminist side. Like, yeah, the gender war, warring against men for, stuff is what ended the Black family. But by the way, we need some more stuff like menstruation days off. And you should give it to us because we're your women. Kamala Harris, 2024. It's stuff like that. That's utterly ridiculous. All right, so let's get some people in here. I'm gonna just put Melissa. All right, there we go. All right, I'm going to go ahead and comment in the chat because I'm going to read it in a moment. So, there we go. All right. Let's see. Most Black men have never married. They're nobody's husband. Yeah, good point. Most Black men aren't family and community oriented. Yeah. Why the fuck would we be? I see what y'all saying. See, here's the thing. You're not going to have one side. Like once one side, it's like a scale. Like once one side falls off scale, then the other side is going to fall off scale as well. That's how that works. All right, let me go up some. All right, I read this one last. I'm not a prostitute. Okay. All right. Anyway, it says, Azrael, they'll probably get money from the middle class or the corporation/government so that it is direct from their pockets, but through raised prices on goods that they buy. Who's getting that? And I know you're responding to Azrael, but I'm curious of where that conversation was going and where it came from. They hate Becky because they want to be Becky. Yes. It's unfortunate that they can't make the distinction between, wanting to be a woman versus wanting to have certain things that she has. Wanting to have the privileges that Becky has is something that any woman should aspire towards. But wanting to think that those privileges comes from because of the color of her hair or eyes or something like that is foolish, which is why they mimic those particular traits not very bright. Now Ling Ling is the new Becky. She is the top chick, sought after by all men, including white. And she did it without becoming Becky. She did it by becoming the best version of her own femininity. But that's, for many Black women, that's doing too much stuff. Thanks a lot. Joe Anon, it says, wait, the cute girl has a fishing pole behind her. I'm interested now, as you should be. As you should be. But let's be honest. We're not an obtuse bunch here. You're interested because she's cute. And every interesting thing about a cute girl is interesting. If she looked like shit, you wouldn't care. You wouldn't care about the fishing pole in the background. You probably don't fish yourself. But now you have a renewed interest in fishing. It's like, oh, she fishes. Oh, I always wanted to go fishing. You pretty much always wanted to go and do the thing that a cute girl is doing. No shade. We all do that. We're interested in what attractive women are interested in. Not so pretty women, your opinions don't mean shit. If it were up to me, attractive women would be able to cut your ugly ass in line. Like, that is the truth of the matter. You're less valuable as women. Hypergamy isn't prostitution. Okay. All right. We all have our opinions. That's why got to do a workaround for Black men that want to avoid the inevitability. Society won't just let these people fail. Yeah. They are the birth givers after all. Absolutely. They're literally too big to fail. They're literally too big to fail. But unfortunately, a natural result of that is people do not want to get into engaged in the same way. They're too fat to fall and too big to fail. Yeah. Fishing is a traditional activity. See, there we go. You see a cute face in a fishing pole, and now you want to fish. I had this ex, and apparently there was a website, maybe it's still there, it's called like Sexy Jobs or something like that, where they paid pretty girls to do shit just because they're pretty. And this included things like standing outside of nightclubs to entice men to go into that nightclub thinking every bitch in there looked like her. That was her actual job. The club paid her to do that. And I'm thinking like, man, that's a hustle. That is ridiculous. And that's why they use them to advertise. So apparently, if I opened up a bait shop, I just hire like a pretty girl with a fishing pole and the thing, and people are like, "Oh yeah, I gotta go fishing." That's funny. The power of beauty, and that's where feminism comes from. What feminism is socialized. What feminists initially wanted, and still want to this day, but more, is they want socialized pretty privilege. I'm going to repeat that. Feminists want socialized pretty privilege. Once again, socialized pretty privilege, meaning that not so pretty women want the same privileges as pretty women. Write that down. That's what feminism is. That is the fundamental theorem of feminism. Socialized pretty privilege. Not so pretty women want the same privileges as pretty women. That will never happen because of my brain and my penis. It will never happen. Beautiful women deserve more from my brain and penis. That will always be the case into perpetuity. I don't think you know what a prostate is. Or maybe I don't know. But if a prostate is what I think it is, and what science tells me it is, then this statement here makes no sense. But I'm pretty sure that a prostate here, let me just check. Yeah, okay. It is that thing. It's where we store our jizz. What in the fuck did you think it was? And I was only checking because I didn't want to be like historic, like just like, you know, it would be the ultimate gotcha if I didn't know what it was. But I was like 99% certain that that's what it was. So this made no sense whatsoever. Women should advocate their own prostate health. The fuck? What the hell? Yeah, it's like a warehouse for cum. What the fuck did you? Ah, damn. Sometimes I read the comments like, what the hell? Man, had me second guess what the fucking prostate was. I was like, what the fuck? Ah, maybe it's a pronoun thing. What the fuck was that? Society needs to let women fail at this point. No, I live here. Shit, I don't want it to fail. Nasty little chick hates families. She's confused. That's for sure. Women aren't exactly the birth givers they used to be. Hell nah. You know. If you line up 5 women, their children count will read like the last part of my name. 00100. Like that's what will happen if you line up 5 childbearing age women. That would be their birth count. It'll be binary 00100. Why would women advocate for men's prostate health? You're right. And by that logic, we shouldn't advocate for any of y'all shit. So when Michelle Obama goes up and like, you should do it for your sister, you should do it for your mother, her prostate and shit. But when she goes up and say shit like that, we could just ignore her and like, fuck you. What do you have against Azrael? I mean, I'm not like against it, but I'm saying, what do you have against Azrael? Black men are protected class in America. Well, black women have a protected ass in America. That's why y'all twerk it everywhere. There's different levels of protection. Anyway, so black men can have a person sent to jail just on a word alone. Good point. You should, you would be the main one bragging about how black women are the most homeless. Okay. Don't know if that's a flex. Hey, so the homeless chick that I did a response to, apparently her shit, when she first did the video years ago, 4 years ago, it only got like a couple of hundred people, but now it got thousands. So apparently YouTube decided to push it. That's how I got it. So now she's coming back to YouTube. And apparently she's still something like homeless. So I'm curious to know where she's at. Black men receive food stamps, Section 8, and all other benefits like women, not at the same rate. Not nearly at the same rate. Let's see. Okay, that's between 2 people. Okay, I already read that one. Let's see. Okay, that's to somebody. Oh, wait a minute. Let's see. I should try to apply then. All right. Here's one to me. Okay, it says they aren't going to get rid of it because it's not a problem for most. Most people use welfare correctly. No, they don't. Most people do not use welfare correctly. Yeah, yeah. I have to disagree with you there. And I know that we like to think that it's that the ones who use it incorrectly are simply more vocal. But no, there's neighborhoods full of people who abuse the systems. It's only supposed to be used in a situation. First of all, you're not supposed to artificially create the circumstances under which you find yourself in welfare. And that's so right off the gate, it's used incorrectly. And then it's sustained incorrectly, meaning that a person who could work, and receive the same quality of life as they would on welfare chooses not to because, well, they receive the same quality of life working that they are receiving not working. So what's the motivation of getting off welfare? So no, I have to disagree with you on that one, brother, but we can definitely have the discussion if you like. Only certain groups of people have been prone to misuse it at GameChanger. Even under other ethnicities, I will say that abuse is rampant. It's a fraudable system. It's a very fraudable system. And it's okay. It's the equivalent. I actually had a white boy ask me to do this. It's the equivalent to if the insurance companies didn't check for insurance fraud. So we seen in the movie, I forget what it's called, but the big something, where with Steve Carell, and they were talking about the banks and the housing institutions and stuff like that. So we've seen what happens when people are able to fraud the system. Like it culminates. Everybody fraud the system. Like unqualified people were getting home loans, including myself at the time, to be perfectly honest. People who otherwise wouldn't qualify for home loans were getting home loans because people were saying that, okay, we're going to give it to them because it's free money. So we're not going to even look at how the qualifications work. And it was a fraudable system, and people defrauded it for a long period of time. Same with welfare. There isn't an enforcement arm on it. There isn't an incentive to use it correctly. It's free money to those who apply for it and create the circumstances under which they can get said free money. Okay. All right, I read that one. Let's go down some. We're all the same. Black man statistic. Okay. So just hear black man bashing. I'm late as hell. Catch the replay, brother. All right, y'all going back and forth. Let's see. Okay, so display the statistic on that, because that's I believe came from like just some unofficial source, if I remember correctly. Let's see. Haven't done a good catch and cook in a while. Yeah, I haven't done that since I was a kid. Yeah, exactly. And it also doesn't work where a person's socioeconomic position is not fixed at birth. Like a man's socioeconomic status here in the US can go up and down very, very, very quickly. And it also doesn't work when a woman can divorce you and take half your shit. Like nothing works when a woman can divorce you and take half your shit. Like no, the whole thing is, the whole system is fucked at that point. Sadly, black men are too dumb to recognize that. Well, I said it. It's don't need no man attitude. So they ain't got no man. Yeah. I mean, that attitude really is just a way to leverage value from a man. It's really like so a man can undervalue his self and his role in a relationship. And basically it's a way that they get discount dick. That's why black men have such low standards. It's because they see themselves as low. It's because they're being told that they're not needed. So they go above and beyond to make them wanted, to make themselves wanted. Okay. Men are only good for one thing, so that's all they know. Yeah, true. People in hell want ice water and ice cream. Hell, I'm going to get me a Jamba Juice after this. Never heard of that one. Good stuff. I'm full of gems, brother. You got to be more specific. How do y'all invest in people you aren't marrying? Yeah. Good question and good advice. Their attitude cancels out their beauty. Yeah. And some of them have neither. And niggas still try to fuck. All right. Let's see. Okay, so if somebody said it, I was like, what the fuck? It took you a while, but you said it. It was like, women don't have prostates, dumbass. Unless you're talking about a trans woman. I don't call those women. So, yeah. Like, what the fuck was that? Okay, so yeah, okay. I don't know if y'all said that after me or y'all said that, before me, but I was like, what the fuck? What the fuck was that? And yes, men can get breast cancer, but women can't get prostate cancer. That's for damn sure. That was funny. What did you mean to type? I'll be, like mistyping is like a word or something. Like you just said the whole sentence. Women should look after their own prostate health. What did you mean? Like phosphate help? Or like what did you mean? What letter was off when you when you typed that whole damn sentence? You're not on my level, Dusty. Okay. A stray dog can breathe. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Oh, I see now. I see how that was brought up. Like, yeah, like I don't want to hear about your fucking flow. And I say that shit in relationships. I don't want to hear about your fucking flow. I really don't. This shit's disgusting to me. See, I don't want to think about. Oh, I gotta go. I'm gonna say this and then I'm gonna go. But I don't want to think about women's parts in non-sexual ways. I really don't. I don't want to think about the stuff that I like do when I'm not using it. For example, I look at a woman, I say, ooh, that's a nice ass. And then, she says something like, yeah, I took a shit with it this morning. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that. Your ass is not for shitting from my perspective. I know that it does, But I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear about the shit that comes out of ass I like. I don't want to hear about the blood and urine that comes out of a pussy I like. And I don't want to hear about the milk that come out of the titties I like. I don't want to hear about the other shit that your body parts do. That's it. That's all. I don't want to hear of it. Yeah. Anyway, like to thank Cash Apps and Super Chats, managers and moderators, those who are listening silently, and those who participate in the chat. Make sure you hit that like button on your way out. This is GameChanger 00100. Game over. Peace. Somebody said I'm childish because I don't want to hear. Listen, so what? A mature man want to hear about a woman's bowel movements? Get the fuck out of here.